Good morning and welcome to the AM show. It's already more than half of the month of January 2025. How is it going for you? But my name is Sweetie Abochi and...
My name is Benjamin Akakwa. I wish I could insert Sweetie into my name, but I guess I'm a sweetheart all the same. Well, it's a Friday morning and it's going to get exciting. I'm sure you can tell already. But what do we have lined up for you this morning? Let's start with the news up next, and then that will be followed by the news review. Two stalwarts join us. Professor Isaac Bwedi, he is Dean of Accounting and Finance at the UPSA, that's the University of Professional Studies, Accra. And we also have Kwame Nkrumah Botsio, General Secretary of the CPP. Both of them will join us for a conversation. And today being a Friday, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi will serve you sports. Prime take, to be specific.
Well, for our big stories, we'll be taking a look at President John Dramani Mahama's government that is shaping up, because he's made another set of major ministerial nominations and appointments. But the question is, are these one of loyalty or competence? Our seasoned political analyst will be on to analyze the issues, and we'll also bring you blunt thoughts with Benjamin Akakwa. When he left that out, I'm sure you were thinking that we're not getting blunt thoughts today. What are you talking about today, Ben?
I'll be talking about a number of matters, including energy and where we find ourselves, including the president's hard talk on corruption. But what has happened in the past and what are the mechanisms they are putting in place? Will they work out? I also talk about Cassielato Forsen.
Oh, I can't
wait to stay. You want to stay for that? Right.
So Ben will do that, and then we will introduce something new to you. The lighter side after the hard political talk on the AM show. You'll know more about it today. So you want to stick with us from now to 10 a.m.
Well, up next, let's serve you the news. Sweetie Abochi will be right back. Do stay.
Hi, I'm Sweetie Abochi, and this is AM News. Let's get into the details. ECG is drowning in debt, according to the latest audited financial statement of the State Electricity Distribution Company. The audit concluded that ECG's current debt is currently standing at 56 billion Ghana cedis, while losses have surged to 10 billion Ghana cedis. Another audit conducted into its operation in the last quarter of 2024 pointed to under-declaration of revenue to the cash waterfall mechanism by more than 1 billion Ghana cedis. The audit conducted by PricewaterhouseCoopers also revealed that ECG operates more than 80 bank accounts, despite an IMF conditionality that it should operate a single account. All this comes on the back of recent conversation about introducing private participation into the operation of the fully owned state company. Let's listen to President John Dramani Mahama when he met a delegation from the World Bank.
The Achilles heel of Ghana's financial and economic stability is that and blow apart everything that we have achieved, in the last few years. And so how we change the systems in the energy sector to make sure that we pay down the debt and make it more efficient than it is currently. I was vice president at the time. My president, Professor Mills, signed the MCC. Actually I signed it, but he initiated the discussions. And when he was ready to sign, I was the one who signed it. And it was meant to improve and make Ghana the most efficient producer of electricity in Africa and become a major hub for electricity exports. Unfortunately, democracy has its dividends, but it also sometimes can be a curse. We left government and a new government took over and took over the Millennium Challenge Compact, mixed up the last segment of it, which was providing efficiency in distribution, billing, metering, and all that. And of course, PDS is history now. But we want to take a look at that again, because if we don't fix the electricity company of Ghana, we will continue to have a major problem with our whole power value chain. And so going ahead with privatizing the last point of distribution of electricity to bring in private sector efficiency is something that we want to take up again.
President John Dramani Mahama's second batch of ministerial nominations have been welcomed with mixed reactions from constituents and industry players who are outlining a raft of demands various ministers must roll out to tackle teething challenges in the various sectors they are going to head. According to them, the NDC manifesto outlined a set of policy directions, but must align with prevailing conditions in the various sectors. Some MPs and party members of the National Democratic Congress in the Central Region have warmly welcomed the appointment of the Central Regional Minister-designate, Eko Ochirpeyin Eduamwa. Let's take a listen.
Chairman or the Vice Chairman of the region, and he won as the second Vice Chairman of the region. So we've known him from the days of ECG Ado, from the days of Altijokos, from the days of all the regional chairmen, and he's now a regional executive. So it's not a surprise to the region that today the president has nominated him as the regional minister designate.
What is so special about him? What do you remember? What is so special?
Yeah, he brings a lot of dynamism on the table. He's somebody who sees things the way all of us will see it, and he speaks his mind. Kopaying doesn't mince words. I mean, he will just say it as he wants to say it. Whether you'll be okay with it or not, he has said it. And that is what we want. I mean, in politics, many people think that you don't have to speak the truth, but there's somebody that will always speak the truth to you. So for us, it's not a surprise to us. He has the capacity, he has the qualities to become the regional minister. After all, regional minister, what is your responsibility?
We'll discuss the fallouts from this and many more in our big story segment. But in other stories, danger looms on the Malam Interchange as loose asphalt on the expansion joint have created what drivers describe as seeming potholes on the newly asphalted overpass. The exposed metallic joints are now a hazard, forcing drivers to slam on their brakes or navigate carefully to avoid damage to their vehicles. Those who fail to do so bear the brunt when they eventually end up at fitting shops and are grappling with costly repairs. Frustrated drivers say the situation not only threatens their safety, but also puts a strain on their wallets. My colleague Ashali was at the scene and has filed this report. Michael Ashali.
A driver slams his brakes just in time to avoid what looks like a pothole on the freshly asphalted Malam overpass. It's not a pothole, it's an exposed expansion joint. The constant flexing of the joint has eroded the asphalt, leaving the metallic surface bare and worn. Now, a hazard disguised as a pothole, it forces drivers to sacrifice speed to save their vehicles. For Kofi Same, driving a massive 6x2 tractor head with a 4-axle semi-trailer, it's more than just an inconvenience. It's bad news. I was heading from Tama to Takrade. We took our time to navigate all the potholes. But after descending the overpass, I realized my shaft was broken. The container owner keeps calling, but we have to fix it first. We have already spent over 1,200 cedis on the shaft, excluding workmanship.
1,500 and I work massive grammar.
Sami isn't alone. Drivers using that stretch of the highway are frustrated as the situation often leaves them with costly repairs at the fitting shop.
My
spring could break and my tire could puncture. It's not good. Part of my vehicle losing after using the interchange, and even after fixing, it happens again. The exposed expansion joints is just one of the problems drivers have to deal with on this particular overpass. These metals that seem to have come loose are just one of those. And the fear for some of them is that by a risky choice, you may just puncture your tie and be left stranded on this bridge that has no other exits but to head towards the Makati Hill area. Some passengers are equally concerned. They are quick to arrest us for breaking the law. You can feel it in your waist. They need to fix it. It is even more scary when you are standing on this bridge and heavy vehicles like these pass by. You can literally feel the vibration. The potholes extend well beyond the interchange. My bearing is damaged. Each cost 200 cedis.
200. And
I had to replace all of them. The drivers want it all to be fixed. 17, 18, and 19. That's how many of these expansion joints that are now very much exposed, and drivers have to slump in every single one of them. For these drivers, it's an urgent call to government to come to their aid and fix these as soon as possible before the worst happens. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
One of the biggest challenges facing the operations of the Upper West Regional Hospital, according to its medical director, Dr. Robert Amesie, is the lack of dedicated power line for the $52 million state-of-the-art facility. He noted that the unavailability of a dedicated power line often results in power fluctuations, which he fears may either damage the equipment at the facility or shorten their lifespan. Speaking at the hospital's second awards event, Dr. Robert Amesie urged the government through the Ministry of Energy to resolve this challenge. Joy News Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
The state-of-the-art $52 million Upper West Regional Hospital opened its doors to the public on January 9, 2020. The operation of the 160-bed hospital, which has now been expanded, brought relief to the people of the Upper West region who hitherto had to seek secondary medical care outside the region, travel long distances and at a higher cost. Mind you, the hospital started without the needed seed capital, but for 5 years has been able to handle over some of its major challenges. Medical Director of the hospital, Dr. Robert Amesie, recalls at the second staff awards event held by the hospital.
So we actually started with a lot of challenges. And the very first year, we had just skeletal staff of 214. If you look at this magnificent building, it is so difficult for 214 people to manage it. And when we began, the doctor population was just 4.
Dr. Robert Amesie, however, laid bare the greatest challenge the hospital faces in power fluctuation, which worsen the durability of the equipment of the facility and will want the government to fix it.
The initial construction of this hospital, the hospital was supposed to have a dedicated power line, like University of Ghana Medical Center has. So people don't hook onto the line and do whatever they do to either increase the voltage or reduce the voltage. So Ministry of Energy had done some work, and I think the cost of the dedicated power line, I think it was initially 1 million, rose to 3 million, and we were expecting them to have concluded. It hasn't been concluded. Government has changed, but the ministry still, I think Ministry of Energy is still there. So I think when we get a dedicated power line from the substation from solar, that is the only thing that can help us solve the power fluctuation problems.
Chief Director at the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Pogna Fati Kore, commended staff of the hospital, stating that their awards symbolize their shared mission to provide the best medical health care for the people.
The Upper West Regional Hospital plays a critical role in the healthcare delivery system of our region. As staff of this hospital, you are not just employees. You are ambassadors of hope, care, and compassion.
The coveted prize of the night went to Zia Michael, who won the overall best award for 2024 and was given a citation and a brand new Apsonic motorbike. Reporting for Dway News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Now, residents of Nunga Ado in the Greater Accra region are appealing to the police to intensify security in their neighborhood following a troubling surge in armed robberies. Many say they have lost counts of the incidents, but the constant threat of being attacked or losing their valuables has left them living in fear. Joy News' Collins Frimpong visited the community and now reports.
Residents of Nunga Ado, a community in the Krowo Municipal Assembly, are living in constant fear as a wave of robberies sweeps through their neighborhood. Many have traumatic stories of attacks. Some were ambushed by unidentified assailants on motorbikes, while others have had their valuables snatched in broad daylight. A local businessman, popularly known as Chief, and other residents recounted their experiences to Joy News, describing the persistent fear that now hangs over the community.
Robberies are becoming rampant in this community. I personally experienced one where the robbers, armed with guns and knives, took all my valuables, including money.
There was some time ago you hear that these theft and all those things happen at night, but now during the daytime it even happens. Because recently a friend of mine went through, she was going to work, she had an afternoon shift. So she was going to work, she entered the taxi and she was seated at the front and someone pointed a gun in the taxi on her head and told her to bring all the items that she has on her, so the money, the phone and everything. And she was forced to do that. And I've been hearing so many recent incidents like that happening in this area, which is very bad, and I'm kind of scared from.
Sometimes I stay at the down there. Because of that stealing, it always put panic in me.
Residents lamented the alarming frequency of these attacks, often occurring in isolated areas of the community. Many say they have lost count of the incidents.
I've seen it not once, not twice. That's recently, during the Christmas time. A lady, they were moving towards their house. That's at this very junction. A motor rider, they were passing. Two were on the motor, they were passing. Unawarely, they snatched her phone.
That one I can't tell, but a coso. What I say, I don't know a coso until
the community is urgently calling on the police to intensify security measures and help restore peace and safety to their lives.
I employ the police and other agencies, security agencies, to patrol at least once in a while, during the daytime and at night, just to make sure that there's extra security around here and then the theft and all that reduces, because it's getting worse in this area, which is very bad for us.
I will urge the police service to increase their presence in this community as the situation has become very challenging for us.
Collins Frimpong's report for Joy News.
In other stories, Ghana Cocoa Board's anti-smuggling task force has intercepted over 1,470 maxi bags of cocoa in the Bono region, suspected to be heading out of the country. Speaking in Sunyain after unpacking the uncertified cocoa, the regional administrator of Cocoa Board, Michael P.K. Asumanu, who described the unidentified perpetrators as nation wreckers, called for stiffer punishment to serve as a deterrent to others. Precious Semevo tells us more.
Upon a tip-off, the Cocoa Board anti-smuggling task force intercepted 3 articulated trucks in Nkrankwanta and Doma in the Bono region on Saturday, January 11, 2025. The trucks were loaded with a combined total of 1,473 maxi bags of cocoa, estimated to be over 2,000 standard bags of cocoa. The perpetrators concealed the cocoa in the trucks with lumber suspected of heading to Togo or Burkina Faso. According to the regional administrator of Cocoa Board, Michael P.K. Asumanu, Two of the truck drivers absconded at Doma Hinkro, but the team managed to move the trucks to the police headquarters in Sunyani, where an investigation is ongoing.
If you look at how the packaging is done, it's very difficult for you to just do a random stop on the way to say that you are inspecting the truck. So based on the information, we moved to the field. Then we had to lay surveillance on them for about 3 days until we finally intercepted the first truck in Doma. And then we brought the truck to Sunyani, went back for the 2 trucks from Nkran Kwanta. So we brought them to Sunyani, and it's just been the paperwork, going to court to make sure that we're able to take possession of the cocoa beans. So currently we have about 1,473 maxi bags of cocoa. And if you want to repackage them into the normal 64 kilos, we should be having more than 2,000 bags of cocoa. And one person, I don't know whether it's one person, I don't know whether there are 2 or 3, I don't know whether it's a cartel, whatever it is, are trying to smuggle this quantum of cocoa out of this country. And that is a lot of money and a lot of loss to the states.
He described the unidentified perpetrators as nation wreckers, considering the impact of cocoa on the economy.
The smuggling is so bad, to the extent that some people even, use even the sea to smuggle cocoa to Togo and Benin and all of those places. It's very bad. Look, cocoa is the backbone of Ghana's economy, and anybody who tries to smuggle cocoa out of this country, I think that the person is not being fair to this country, and the person is a nation wrecker, I'll put it that way. We all know that when we have cocoa, it even helps in stabilizing our city. And so if one person out of selfishness will try to smuggle cocoa out of the country for his own selfish, desire, and then for his good, I think that the person doesn't fit to be a Ghanaian.
He called for stiffer punishment to serve as a deterrent to others.
Somehow, we are all benefiting from cocoa. Cocoa is the backbone of Ghana's economy. So if you see something, say something. And there's a reward in place for people who give tips or for us to arrest people. I believe also that it is about time we relook at the sentencing regime for people who are into cocoa smuggling. Minimum of 5 years now, for me, is not deterrent enough. We should also look at probably confiscating whatever they use in smuggling cocoa. I think that when we do this, it will deter people from engaging in smuggling. At the same time, too, we wish to also call on the judiciary to help us, because this is a campaign not only for Cocoa Board. If it goes well, it is Ghana that wins ultimately.
The cocoa is being moved to Kumasi. Like the inscription on one of the trucks, Ghana's enemies are not far from the country. Precious Semevo, Joy News, Sunyani.
Away from that, here's a question for you. Have you nominated that extraordinary person in your community who is making remarkable contributions and inspiring others to follow suit yet? The Joy News Impact Makers Awards is the perfect platform to amplify the voice of your community change maker as they make significant strides in diverse categories such as health, education, water and sanitation, technology, and many more. Join us as we acknowledge our heroes and get the recognition they deserve. Here is why you must nominate that awesome person now. We'll tell you more.
The award, Lamisi Music Foundation also partnered with me, and we gave about 500 pads, sanitary pads, to girls in rural communities who cannot afford it. Because of the award, Washington Foundation partnered with me as well to also give 100 unit school uniforms to some rural communities also in Boku West, Garo, and Congo district. Because of the award, we partnered with Rest Philanthropy, also partnered with us to give about 300 footwears to students here who cannot afford to wear school footwears to school. The award has afforded me the opportunity to also have patriotism campaigns. Schools are now inviting me to come and talk at their various senior high schools to motivate their children to be selfless. I can go on and on and on, but I want to say that the award has really benefited me and has helped me and has given me credibility and has enhanced my authenticity nationally. I want to say a very big thank you to the Joy Impact Makers Award team. We say more grace to your elbow. We say that we don't take this opportunity for granted, for indeed looking at ordinary individuals like us and celebrating us as national heroes. It makes so much encouragement for us.
On all social media platforms, we are joining us on TV, and details about how to nominate your community hero will be there. That takes us to the business update segment with Benjamin Akako.
This is business. Welcome aboard. Now, the American Chamber of Commerce, Ghana, is calling for a robust payment plan between the government of Ghana and American companies over debts owed them to send a positive signal to the investor community. The push comes at a time where a U.S. senator, who is also a ranking member on the U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, in a letter to the U.S. Treasury Secretary, argued that pressure should be brought on the IMF to ensure these debts running into $251 million are paid. Speaking to Joy Business, Executive Secretary, American Chamber of Commerce Ghana, Simon Maggi, insisted a deliberate effort had to be made to pay these debts owed American businesses.
Different approaches. You know, government people have their way of carrying out advocacy, and businesses also have their own way of carrying out advocacy. Well, I'm not in a position to make a determination on the approach deployed by the senator. But what I'm in the position to say is that we have to look at the issue of payment to companies critically. And it is, you know, one aspect which will send a signal to the rest of the investing public or the international business community that indeed Ghana is open for business. And these businesses have been here for some time, so they understand the country's peculiar situation. But the dialogue with a concrete plan as to how they will be paid for their goods and services supplied to government will be a step in the right direction, which will position Ghana as a favorable place for foreign direct investment.
Now, manager and IT advisory at KPMG, Ezekiel Akpan, is urging SMEs to leverage technology to boost and increase market visibility. According to him, although technology is crucial in improving efficiency and boosting output, entrepreneurs will have to pay critical attention to safeguarding their businesses from security threats. He shared these insights in his advisory series, Equipping SMEs.
Living in a digital era, people want convenience, people want to stay at their homes, at their offices, and have access to products and services. And so really taking advantage of this technological advancement really puts you in a better position to expose your business to potential customers you might never reach within your jurisdiction. At KPMG, one thing we look at and we take seriously is actually information security. And there are several information security standards that you have to adhere to as a business, depending on which sector or which business you're operating. Like, let me take for a small business as an example, right? You have certain standards that you just have to comply with. Your data, where are you storing it? How secure is it? Who has access to it, right? What systems are you using? Are those systems secured? The mode of communication between that system and maybe third-party systems, are they secure? So there are very basic check boxes that you have to just check and ensure. And in most cases where you have these challenges, you realize that one or two of those controls are not complied to.
Well, from there, let's head right into our currency market updates. It's a wrap for business. Handing over back to Sweetie Abachi.
Thank you, Ben, for bringing us business updates. And that wraps up the AM News Bulletin on the AM show. Stay with us because News Review comes right up next. And Professor Isaac Boidi is Dean of Accounting and Finance at UPSA. And Kwame Nkrumah Botsio is General Secretary of the CPP. And they're joining us to review the newspapers. We're back in a bit. Miato Agbonwagake, leke mifwa. Welcome to the News Review segment on the AM show. And our guest joining us in studio this morning is Kwame Nkrumah Botsio, and he's General Secretary of the CPP. And I think as the conversation progresses, we introduce our second guest to you. Kwame Nkrumah, welcome to the AM show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know.
Kadang. But it's good to see you.
But let me be a little mischievous. You know, I've told you the story about that in primary, just around, so let's say elementary school, there was this senior of mine. His surname was Opoku. And I would intentionally sometimes call him Opoku. You know, there's a difference. There's a fish called One day he caught me and gave me a nice beating, and I stopped doing that. But this morning, you know, Botsio is a very prominent name in this country. But it just hit me. It will be our boy.
That's actually the origin of the name. Actually, Botsio. Yeah, Botsio.
Yeah. So Botsio.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. One of our ancestors, there was something to do with the Botsio. Oh. That's his origin.
So literally.
It's literal, yeah.
So what occurred to me was not, but you know, names, apart from like Ajaman or Sajafo, all of them have, you know, the titles, Busumuru. Anyway, let me not take the wind out of your sail.
Yeah.
What's on your mind this morning?
Well, what is on my mind is the president's nominees. I'm happy to see that as he hit the ground running, he has not slowed down. And we've been through the nominees.
He's not doing thoughts.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not thought anymore. And largely, I'm happy about the nominees. And I think just as he has reset the nation with his agenda and the nominees, all of us, the citizenry, we also have to reset ourselves and continue to do our work very well. As Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever you find your hand doing, do it well. Do it well. Yes. So let's all keep on keeping on, and I'm sure that very soon we'll all be smiling.
I see.
Thank you so much.
But just briefly on those nominations, because it's one of the discussions we're having this morning. There are some too who, I mean, from yesterday on social media, I started seeing some who say, okay, so are these national appointments or party appointments or this? I mean, you know, everything, anything.
Youth empowerment and development,
Yes. You know, a lot of people, as for Agrek, for example, Eric Opoku, people have said, I mean, tourism, Jifagumashi. But there are some of the appointments that have been made, and some people are feeling, okay, is it partyism creeping in? Yes. But you remember the erstwhile administration? We asked people, and they said, but did you expect the president to go and appoint people from...
Exactly.
But where do you stand on that? What do you...
I think, in all honesty, the president who has done well in the Fourth Republic regarding having balanced appointments is probably His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor. He appointed from the CPP, he appointed from the PNC, and others. But, you know, politics...
But those also had dynamics in terms of support that led to the MPP.
Exactly.
You know, the second round.
Exactly. Thing. It's true. It's true. But, you know, politics evolves, and society also evolves. Now, hardly anybody is apolitical. Everybody is associated one way or the other, not because they're necessarily interested in party politics. You just find yourself passionately supporting one group or the other. Sometimes you are caught on air saying something in favor of one party. You may not have a party card per se. You'll be surprised that some of these nominees do not have party cards, but they have spoken against a certain agenda, which maybe the NDC supported. So they are tagged as being party people, but they are competent people in their own areas of expertise who just happen to be tagged with party colors. But they may not necessarily be party people. So, and I think the president also has to work with them, those that he is comfortable with. You see, you cannot appoint people that you feel may not go along with your agenda, may throw a spanner in the works. So I think all in all, it's a sign of the times. It's normal for him to do these appointments.
Okay.
Yes.
Talking about hitting the ground running, let's do that. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, let's start from here. Expand coverage to meet growing demands, ANYC to telcos. Ghana, Mali strengthens ties. Yeah, the Prime Minister was in the country. President nominates 12 more ministers. Ghanaian entrepreneur woos investors from diaspora. This is the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and let's get into it and see what stories are in there that will pique our interest. Police arrest 3 people in connection with alleged smuggling of cocoa beans. That story was just in our news bulletin this morning. CCTV reveals driver stealing mobile phones from journalists, others. Man remanded in police custody over alleged fraudulent land sale. I think this entire page is for crime and how we are fighting it. Carpenter jailed for defiling ex-lover's child. Wow, that's terrible. 39-year-old carpenter who defiled his ex-lover's 9-year-old girl at Yariaya in a community in the Pristia Huni Valley municipality has been sentenced to 20 years imprisonment with hard labor. Let's see, I don't know what to make of this. Rescuers seek last bodies in South Africa mine. 78 die in police siege. And reviving the city, a blueprint for Ghana's economic stability. Speakers at ANYCS support election of MMDCEs. This was one of our big stories yesterday. Betting tax is counterproductive, Samir Uku says. Let's get into this. Samir Uku, a former Director General of the National Lottery Authority and now NPP Member of Parliament for Ikuapem North, has expressed enthusiasm over the government's decision to scrap the betting tax. Samir Uku, who has been a vocal critic of the tax even during the tenure of the previous administration, describing it as counterproductive, said that it's failed to yield positive results in many jurisdictions. So 1, whether or not betting tax is counterproductive. 2, we are still shocked by outcome of parliamentary results, Justin Kodia is saying. The General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Justin Frimpong Kodia, has expressed surprise and disappointment over the outcome of the 2024 parliamentary elections. Now, according to Mr. Kodia, the party provided unprecedented support to its parliamentary candidates during the election, a sentiment echoed by the candidates themselves. Well, whether or not you're shocked, I believe the small elephants are on grounds trying to gather information and, ascertain what really happened. So maybe when they conclude that investigation, you will know what happened. Of course, the president nominates 12 more ministers. Their photos are here. Most of them have actually been in those ministries before. And the last one I want to add, Ghana-Mali strengthen ties. So Mali's Prime Minister, General Abdoulaye Maiga, is in the country on an official visit aimed at fostering stronger ties between Mali and Ghana. And he was warmly received by high-level government delegation and greeted. In fact, the president himself was there. I saw that video yesterday in our News Prime bulletin. But gentlemen, let's start here. Samir Oku says scrapping betting tax is counterproductive. What do you make of it? Also,
but first, let's bring in Professor
Prof is here with us. Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. Professor of Accounting and Finance at the University of Professional Studies, Accra.
Prof, it's good to have you this morning.
Good to see you guys again.
Do you agree with Samir? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I think last week I didn't see my good brother. And good morning to you as well.
Good morning, bro.
I was relaxing a bit.
I was told.
Right. Do you agree that betting tax is counterproductive? The other story, there are 3 stories I think we should discuss. Justin Frimpong Kodia is saying they're shocked by the outcome of parliamentary results. Samir Oku says scrapping betting tax is counterproductive, so he supports scrapping it. And the president's nomination of 12 more ministers.
I don't know which one to start with, but they're all good stories for discussions. Maybe I can start with the nominees.
Yes.
And then have a bite on that issue. It's normal, it's become a tradition that a new government obviously will have to appoint people to lead the country. And it's a normal thing that we see all the time. This is, after 8 years, we are seeing the opposition party being nominated or being to lead a country.
Right.
And it's time for them also to nominate people to the helms of affairs. I think if you check the backgrounds of these individuals, they are solid. If you check the CVs of these individuals, the Minister of Education designates, and then the rest. If you go to their profile, the educational background, work experience, exposure, over the years, they stand tall.
Okay.
My challenge has been the appointing the committee. You know, it's a public hearing, and therefore we expect the public also to participate. I don't know if they normally select or receive submission from the public. Often you see the MPP, you see the NDC, and then the independent, the committee. I think we should extend it further, allowing the public also to submit some concerns if they have, just to shape the discussions on that committee. So we expect them to work. We expect them to give the nation the good service that we deserve.
Okay.
And then back to the other story, concern from Samia Wuku.
Betting tax.
Betting tax. I think the function of any administration is to raise revenue and control expenditure. If you want to raise revenue, so many avenues of raising revenue to cater for your expenditures over the period. It's been on the front burner all the time, whether we should scrap or we should encourage it. We will have two effects. One has to do with behavioral implications, and the other one will be revenue.
Which is what I think is his concern, the behavioral implications.
I think that could be.
It's very addictive.
Yes. If that is an idea, that's fine. So we should be able to find out the difference. Is it about revenue issue that we are talking about or behavioral issue that we are talking about? So for me, it's a good call, but let's find time to analyze these two scenarios properly.
Right.
Yeah.
Kwame Nkrumah boats.
Yes, sweetie. I would start with the betting tax.
Yes.
Also, I listened to the vetting of Honorable Atufosun about the betting tax and other issues, and I think he was questioned on how in the past he had called betting something to do with sin and all that, as in the moral aspect of betting.
Basically, sin taxes.
Sin taxes. I think if you are going to tax production, something that adds to the economy, that assists all of us. If you are going to tax employment, something that adds to society, then why not tax something leisurely as betting? What does betting add to society per se? So I think that the tax should be maintained. And a lot of those who gamble, betting is gambling. I mean, let's be sincere. Maybe a minority may say they are good at it and they do it as a hobby. But more often than not, those who do this, they complain that it's something that they wish they could let go of. It can be a very harmful pastime. You have people stealing money from, embezzling funds from their offices to go and bet. So
go and do aviator.
Exactly. If anything, it should be taxed heavily to discourage people. That is my view. It should be taxed heavily. And then secondly, also about my brother and my learned friend, the
Justin
NPP General Secretary, being shocked by the outcome of the parliamentary results. I remember I was on this show many times saying that it's possible the election may even go into a second round. I am also shocked by the parliamentary results. So I think he is right to say that he was shocked. I think the NDC victory was massive. And somebody was saying that you have to fear the Ghanaian electorate. I mean, they quietly watch you, but on that day, they will surprise you. So I think it's shocking, but it's something that he has to accept. And it also shows how sophisticated the Ghanaian electorate has become. Yeah. Will not fall for distribution of hair dryers and bags of rice. I think our democracy has matured, and it's a good thing.
Okay.
And then also regarding the ministers, if you look at it, one of my NDC legal practitioner friends he wrote on Facebook that it looks as if the minimum qualification is a master's degree in the current ministerial lineup. And somebody pointed out that no, there are some with first degrees, and somebody said even those with first degrees, they are mostly double degrees.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that a lot of thought has gone into it, and I even just remember that the Minister for Education designate, he taught me for a very short period during my first degree days. And I mean, the clarity of thought, sitting at his feet, I mean, very, very intelligent. This is before he became very active in politics.
Yeah.
And even as far back then, I was impressed by him.
Okay.
So I think we have good things. And then finally, you also mentioned the Ghana-Mali. And I was very touched by the body language of the Burkinabe president to go beyond Mali when he approached with the president. Of course, I had my own issues with his firearms and all that. But the body language is good. We want to keep ECOWAS together. We want to keep Africa together. For a long time, this divide and rule against Africa has cost us a lot.
Right.
Has cost us a lot. So strengthening ties with Ghana and Mali, it's a good thing. Hopefully, we can strengthen ECOWAS, and which will benefit the economy and everything in the long run.
Ben, quick thoughts?
Yes, I'll start with Samuel Wuku. For some, it was a bit of a surprise, but on the other hand, I believe the MPP itself had also proposed something like this. I don't know, scrapping the betting tax. You know, he headed the National Lotteries Authority. He recently resigned. The point being that, of course, if there's no tax, then maybe it will be an incentive for more people to engage in it. So maybe from that perspective, you can see it as such. But in terms of raising revenue, then it becomes a bit dicey. But then you spoke about the Ghanaian voters' response. I've heard stories about Charlie. People came to rallies and everything. They will collect your money. They will do everything. You have T-shirts. You know. You've heard the song, right? Honorable.
Yes.
In there, they say, Sikano Wahe. T-shirts, no Wahe. Yeah, shit. And the other one, I can't say it on air. And then the end is what I find funny. I say, do you have a bow? And I'm saying, Emfa. But
I think you take
the savvy.
Listen to this song.
You know, I like to pay attention to these things, and that portion is what got me. Like, I say, Emfa. So the Ghanaian voter is getting more and more savvy, and it's clear. Don't think today if you are in a good place, you can't be in a bad spot tomorrow.
Exactly.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
You play with us, we'll play with you.
Exactly.
So they'll come for the rally. You see the numbers, but on voting day, you see that, Charlie.
Yeah, exactly.
And seminar,
yeah.
And maybe the last one, I also like just my quick point on the nominees. Yes, one, I like how the Americans do it. It's not so much about certificates. It's about what you can do. So in some jurisdictions, you may not have the paper certification, but what is your experience? What is your capacity? What is your record? What have you done in the past? It's crucial. But again, I am impressed by the CVs of some of these nominees. You've mentioned masters and all of that. At least academically, they are there. Experience-wise, a lot of them have a lot to show. You know, and I'll not mention names. There have been ministers in the past and people were saying, but these people, where is their experience? Some of them just came out of school. And then, you know, all those things have been there. But I think so far, it looks good on that.
Right. I just want to say that on, the, scrapping or maintaining betting tax, if we really have gambling addiction problems, do you think that's some, 10 or 1% of your winnings will deter someone from actually, still gambling? If we have a gambling problem, we should look at reorienting the youth, an intentional approach to actually changing mindset. I don't think that whether we maintain or we scrap betting tax, it would actually give us the results we want if it's a behavioral change that we are gunning for. So I think we should look at it carefully. It's not, it doesn't all come down to scrapping or maintaining the betting tax. Before I hand over to you, Kotoko to lock horns with Vision FC, match review panel to meet today. And small modular reactor unveiled at University of Nuclear and Allied Sciences. And finally, ensure safety of electrochem workers. Ada chiefs to government. This has been ongoing for a while. But let's get into other stories. Is that the new center, Prof?
Yes. Republic Bank, PLC appoints Venice, Francis Fritz as Chief Operating Officer. Zenith Bank Ghana claims Bank of the Year, Honor of the Bankers Award. I think we've not seen this for a while after the banking crisis some years ago. I don't know if it's time for me to go.
No, go ahead.
The banking crisis, before the banking crisis, years ago, about 5-10 years ago, we had a lot of these awards. The best bank in customer service, the best bank in credit, the best. So many awards were won in those days. And the aftermath of those awards, we had the collapse of those banks that struggled. And we had a lot of issues in terms of those who were giving awards to these banks. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden we've seen another awards coming up again. If banks are awarded, naturally everyone wants to be recognized one way or the other. And for me, it speaks volumes in terms of what they have done over the period. And my issue is we should be fair with these assessments. If they are due or they had to be awarded, I mean, why not? They should be awarded. And it's just a criteria that sometimes we need to understand what goes in the selection, the processes that will lead into these awards. It's a good story to be told. Zenith, they've played a major role in our history, the banking history over the period. Zenith Bank, I don't know when it was established, but I think 2000 and, I don't know, 2006 or 2007.
Fortunately, you're the only finance guy here, so we
well, I mean, they've been around for a while. I think originally they were in Nigeria.
And they moved to Ghana.
And they moved, like some of the other banks, Fidelity and...
I'm sure that the migration or the influx of those banks was as a result of
At least I remember them from as far back as 2006 or so.
Yeah, that was the exact, because I remember just around that time and a few things I did. Zenith was around.
Around the first regime where we had the GT banks, we had other banks coming in. We know the history, why they moved all the way to Ghana. At that time, it was more of a safe haven for these banks. And it was a result of the recapitalization in Nigeria, which gave a lot of banks the cushion, the more funds. And they were looking for places to make the investment. And they moved into Ghana. Over the years, I'm sure they've done well. You hardly will hear anything bad about this bank, Zenith. They've done well.
Okay. There's Planting for Food and Jobs something. There's a story there. If you could quickly, 1D, 1F, reforms, something.
And I saw that same story.
Okay, so maybe we get into it there. Right, okay, great.
So,
Kwame Nkrumah, let's do you now.
Yes, before I do my papers, I also add my voice to Zenith Bank. I think it's a well-deserved award. It's one of the banks that I'm familiar with. And right from their former CEO, I don't know whether it's Mr. Asiedu or Dr. Asiedu, who did a very good job there. So kudos to them. And the other banks too are doing well, and I hope they also get some awards. So I have the Ghanaian publisher here.
But Prof, are you done with the news center?
Yes, there's 2 stories, but I'll link the last one to the agric.
Okay, I also saw the story about 200,000 Ghana cedis from Dr. Bawumia and 250 packets of roofing sheets.
That was about a week
ago. Is this
yeah.
the same? Is this the earlier one?
The 200,000 was earlier. I'm not sure about the 250 packets of roofing sheets because that didn't pop up when he did that donation in Cantonment. So
yeah, because I noticed something was different from the, and I think, did I not hear 100,000?
That's from Alan
Chemate.
Yes.
Okay.
And Cheddar also did that. In fact, when I went there, they didn't have roofing sheets. They're just putting up wards to demarcate whose store is where and all that. Yeah. So maybe this is the latest addition to the donations going to the victims.
But apart from the first one.
Well, I don't know whether it's the same or apart from
it's on page 2.
the first one. Yeah. But I was also going to say that it appears the former vice president has started the campaign for 2028. Very early.
Very early, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should be careful how we do the campaign. But I was thinking you're going to do another donation.
Me? We could agree to go and do something.
So we are right. This is the recent addition.
This is
the 250 packets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I just wanted to
highlight
highlight that a bit.
Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay, so the Ghanaian...
Kwame Nkrumah, do you ever get confused when people call you Kwame Nkrumah? Like every time I say Kwame Nkrumah, I remember Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Oh no, like I've become used to it. You know, so many years.
He has big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
We have the Ghanaian publisher, Ministerial Nominee Caught in International Fraud, Bright Simmons, reveals. And he said that an international bank has confidentially warned the President's office about the individual, cautioned that the outcome of the ongoing investigations may soon become public. It does not state who the
individual is.
Yes, so I don't know. But I think as long as he has not been convicted, I don't see why it should be a problem. As for investigations, people go through investigations all the time. We even had...
I'm sorry, before you go on, just to situate it, because I read the tweet yesterday from Bright Simmons, and first off, this person has not even been nominated, from what I... It's someone that, per the grapevine, the person is maybe nominated. That is one. So it's like a caution. But again, I read the comments underneath, and people were saying, okay, you know, in our jurisdiction, you're a lawyer.
Yes.
You are innocent until proven
guilty. Yes.
This also smacks a different way. Bright Simmons is a good friend of mine. But when you put something like this out there, what if the person eventually is cleared?
Exactly.
What then happens?
Exactly.
Maybe that person could have done some service. But on the other hand, whoever this person may be, if it is that intricate or delicate a situation, you probably may be cautious about wanting to appoint such a person, go ahead and appoint. So it's like a forewarning. But the way it comes out here is like, oh, the person has been nominated and the person is entangled in some... I just wanted to situate it from
it's good you've given me, because then that means the headline is deceptive. It says ministerial nominee, you see. And then I agree with you, innocent till proven guilty, because even the current first gentleman of the land, we all heard about government official one and all these things. Eventually, nothing came of it. You know, that is a risk of being in the public eye. Every small thing you do, every big thing you do can become subject of something unexpected. So whoever it is, I believe the president feels the person can serve this country well. As long as the person has not been convicted of a crime, he or she should be given a chance. And there's also a very interesting story here. I mean, my fellow vandal, my mate from Commonwealth Hall, and Honorable John Darko. Interestingly, I and Honorable Okujato Ablakwa were in Commonwealth around the same time. And he says, don't honor oral invitation.
In fact, he was here yesterday.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, on the same issue.
Interesting. And it's something very... I've been following the arguments, and I must admit that it's a very healthy debate, because it's really a 50-50 issue there. You have to look at the laws regarding citizen vigilantes, citizens being able to bring up issues of interest. I hear there have been 700 complaints so far. And people are asking, why don't we allow the various bodies to handle it? I remember in 2016 when NPP took over, quite a number of NDC people were invited to the various state institutions. And I had the privilege of representing some of them. Those who were found not to have anything questionable were let go. Those who were found to have something questionable were processed accordingly. So I believe that our institutions are still strong enough to handle whatever issues are there. At the same time, I believe if the president wants to have his own body to invite requests from people, it does not necessarily mean he's taking over the duties of these bodies, because these bodies are investigative bodies and prosecutorial bodies. Yes. It is the courts who have the mandate to sentence. But when it comes to reporting, it is incumbent upon all of us. So Oral can look into these issues, but as to whether they can invite people and interrogate people, I don't think...
They said they're not doing that.
Then it is good.
Yesterday we spoke to, what's his name? One of the...
Martin Pebu.
Martin Pebu,
yes,
as well as Lawyer Darko.
Yes,
so Martin said they're not actually inviting or interviewing people. Okay. However, the call is out there. If you have information, just bring it to us. And his argument is that the committee is illegal because President Mahama, constituted it when he was president-elect. So that's the whole argument of the illegality of the committee.
Okay, yes. That makes it a very interesting thing because, you know, based on the immense powers given to the president in the Constitution, if the president has set up a committee and the committee has found you wanting, the various institutions that it will be referred to, who are appointed by the president, the question is, will they be able to do a fair job, or they will want to pander to the desires of the president? But I haven't worked with our institutions for some years. I know that they'll be able to stand on their own feet and do a fair job. Okay. Another story here is National Alternative Employment Livelihood Program refuted allegations of politically motivated schemes that pays employees for no work. This is something that keeps on recurring. I mean, it's been in the system for so long. Our history is replete with issues about jobs for the boys, where various political parties are accused of putting their foot soldiers into places to pay them. And it's good they've come out to clear this, because with the current global economic shocks, we cannot afford to be paying people for no work done. You should always let, everybody is of some use, and you should pay people according to their qualifications. You should fix them where they are qualified to be. If somebody doesn't have the certificate or the experience to be in a certain position, do not put them there because of what they did for the party. Put them somewhere that they can be of use, depending on their qualifications. And there are a lot of interesting
stories. Can just do one more.
Okay. So I suppose the last story I can do is Mahama sweats for 25 ministers in 9 days. And I like the headline, Mahama sweats for 25 ministers
in 9 days. Is he really sweating?
Well, if, as a president, that is your job, you are supposed to sweat alongside the citizenry in order to make sure that things work. And so far, so good.
The ministerial nominee caught in the international fraud. Thank you for your intervention.
So since you've brought it up again, this is Bright Simmons' post, just that portion. Those who care about the reputation of the new Ghanaian government will be interested in knowing that an international bank has reached out confidentially to the office of the current president with a warning. How did Bright Simmons know, though? With a warning that an individual, so note, with a warning that an individual he intends to name to high ministerial office is the subject of adverse investigations. So in that, at least if you look here, it says adverse investigations, which would mean that there's some negativity, but he is yet to name times, which means he's not even been. This person has not been.
Even when I saw the headline in the morning, I had my heart in my mouth. I was wondering what could be, but sometimes it's better to have a warning as an appointing authority in terms of who you want to appoint. It was a good call, but the point is that if you put such headlines, you leave your readers. Why goes shit? We don't know what.
So the headline is a bit deceptive.
Yeah,
information.
a bit. For me, I had a problem when finally told us no.
Yeah.
And even the story, that person has not been named.
Yeah.
And two, you didn't even provide the name of that person. So we expect, I mean, I know Bright very well. Sometimes we have to be a bit...
But I suspect in this instance, while he put it on X, I suspect it's the paper that picked, you know, they pick sometimes social media and then they craft their stories from them.
Your own friends.
We are not always the same. We are not always
right,
the
so
same.
I had an issue with that. But finally, we've cleared the air. And the person is, but it's good for the authorities also to be careful, find out from Bright, the person involved, and then not to appoint that person if he has issues like that. Right.
Ben?
I'll just share something on the oral bit. I've always said, and I will insist, so when you're Bonibia, if you've done nothing and they are shouting, thief, thief. I mean, sometimes there are a few people who become casualties because maybe a thief ran and used the route and you popped into that route right at the time. You may catch some stray bullets.
Yeah.
But ordinarily, if you've taken nobody's item and they are screaming, thief, thief, oh, we are going to check everybody, you shouldn't be worried. But of course, the law must be applied. I've said that oral must do the right thing so that it doesn't also appear that it's some sort of witch hunt. But let's get to the bottom of it. The committee that was formed, it wasn't formed with the mandate of the state. It wasn't like the government of Ghana is forming it. A transition had been initiated, and the man said, look, I want to constitute these people to start looking into some matters. And as of yesterday, Okuchetua Blackwell had told us that about 700 petitions had been submitted. Information gathering. I feel it is, the difference must be, yesterday, mention was made of Kufuor's accountability committee, and I was quickly also reminded by Professor Ajimandua that he was president at the time he brought to bear that accountability committee. But, Kwame Nkrumah, my question is, the Shrajs, the Ghana Police Service, among others, EOCOs, have they lived up to expectation the way we would want on some of these matters? If the NDC is in power, are these entities able to deal with even members of that administration while the party is in power? When the NPP is in power, do you get it?
Yeah.
Those are major failures sometimes. Yeah. I mean, and it appears that the clearing thing then goes on, depending on whose ox is God.
Yeah.
The bit about OSP, for example, why did we have the OSP? People said the office would be redundant because it was merely a duplication of what the AG was supposed to do. But if the AG were doing that, would we need an ombudsman or an OSP? You get the point. So I feel all of these are important to get us to where we have to get to in dealing with corruption. And the Public Officers Act, I feel, should also be brought to bear the bill so that some of these bits about land grabbing state assets and all of that. Because some of the stories we hear, some of the things we've got to see, go to Roman Ridge, go to cantonments. Practically, I mean, if a few people will come and take over what belongs to all of us, look at parks and gardens. It even got to the point where some parks and gardens from Nkrumah's time were now being taken over by individuals. At what point do you do that? So for me, I feel legality is important, but in the end, what's the bottom line? If we are losing 3 billion to 6 billion every year to corruption, we can't keep on like business as usual.
That's very true. That's very true.
That's my quick point on that.
Before we get to the Daily Graph effect, I know, Prof, you were scribbling something. Something he said and he said a note.
Well, dealing with corruption entails a lot. Entails a lot. Quoting or supporting the submission, we lose about, I think, 3-something billion yearly, according to the sources that he quoted. It's a worrying situation. And therefore, if any government wants to do corruption, there are so many things that you have to take into consideration. In recent past, we've seen a lot of other institutions coming up, OSP, Yoko, and we want to find out to what extent have they also performed or been effective. I'm sure that's why some of these things are coming. I don't have a problem with the aura. In fact, if we have seen or spotted some activities in terms of corruption and we want to go after people, I don't have a problem. Of course, we must all behave properly. The other leg is, what will be the end product of this aura? Are they going to jail people? Are they going to send them to court? What will be the end if the truth is finally found out? What do we do with this, their activities or their findings? That's what we need to know and interrogate and find out. Where would this all things this will lead to? At the end of the day, I'm sure those who have done things wrong, they will have issues. For me, I sit here, well, I don't know what I've done. But if you've been involved in any other act that affected the country, you should be the one to be bothered at this stage. But then, let's find out the end product of all the investigation, where it will lead to. And it not should be a 9-day wonder.
Okay.
Just a quick one. I also remembered that something I wanted to give the president the nod for. The last batch of nominations had 4 women, right? 8 men, 4 women. And I think we need more of that. You know, all of them were making promises about more women being appointed here and there. So 8 to 4, that's a ratio of 1 to 2, thereabouts. But I think even more can be done. I always cite, you know, the Ethiopians, and I think Ethiopia at a point, they had a parliament that had even more women than men. I don't know what currently it is, Tanzania and some other places. And some other countries have taken the lead in having female presidents. We've succeeded in having a vice president, but I think there's more progress that can be done in appointments to state-owned enterprises, boards, and all of that. So quick stories from the Daily Graphic newspaper. 12 more ministers nominated. I will not go in there. Over-reliance on imported raw materials, crippling production, that's according to AGI. Use agric to reset economy. And Professor Bokpin advocates graphic business X Spaces Forum. So economist and professor of finance Godfred Alufa Bokpin has called for a drastic shift in Ghana's economic strategy, emphasizing the need to prioritize agriculture as the backbone of the economy. To achieve this, Professor Bokpin recommends that the government must invest heavily in irrigation systems, provide support for farmers, and implement policies that encourage private sector investment in agriculture. During an X conversation, formerly Twitter, as part of the Graphic Business X Spaces Forum on the theme Resetting Ghana, What It Will Take, the professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School also called for increased investment in agriculture, agribusiness, and agricultural processing to enable the country to become an agribusiness hub. It goes on and on. Biden warns of dangers of oligarchy taking shape in U.S., and it's all about some of the wealthiest people in the United Nations, the likes of Elon Musk, of Jeff Bezos. I was watching the BBC yesterday as they spoke on this, tied to also what is happening in Israel. Then...
Have you seen the president's portrait yet? Talking about Biden, have you seen Trump's portrait?
Yeah, 2016 and 2024.
And go hard.
Can I? No? I think it's more like, so maybe the first one was, and then the second one is like...
I'm smiling, I'm here.
It's like, Kakai, I'm coming for you guys.
That's Trump telling you that, and you know, cannot pay.
Yeah. Massive turnout, thrilling experiences at the African Festival. I see Rocky Dawuni among others here. So all those stories in here. Any quick reactions? And let me add this, Prof, as I come to you. I'm not being mischievous. I read a story of yours on free SHS, right? I read a story from, I don't know whether it was last year. Prof is looking at me like, you're up to mischief, but I'm not. I just want your take.
You're my good friend.
I read a story about you and some lecturers at the UPSA, saying that the current president wasn't, so to speak, fit for office because of free SHS and because of his commentary from the past and now. I just want to, I mean, we're all entitled to opinions, but the signals you've seen so far on free SHS, the feeding issues and food being sent and all that. Do you think these are positive signals? And what more would you want to see on free SHS so that all of us can be calm, be reassured that, you know what, when they said they wouldn't do X, Y, Z, they are sticking to it?
Yes, I think it's how many days after the swearing in? It's just 10 days.
7th, 17th, that's about 10 days.
10 days, yeah.
And I've said on several places that I've had the opportunity to speak that it's difficult at this stage to critique this administration because that will not be fair.
Yeah.
They have not shown any signs at this stage. They are only appointing, nominating people to the high office. That's what they are doing now. So for me, it's better we give them some time to do this appointment. And then after the 120 days, we'll come back and look at the policies and what they want to do. So far, I only heard that of the finance minister nominate before his appointment, his vetting, that they'll go to IMF. First comment from him. And then General Paul also coming out to say we are going to be in darkness for 2 days or so. So far, directly from their administration, I've heard 2 comments so far. The rest I've heard some of those from other people who are not part of this administration. Comment from the, I think GS, I've forgotten about his name.
Which one?
Who said they don't have food. The HSS.
Chas.
Yeah. And then one person as well. So my comment, it's difficult now to comment about the free SHS policy and all that. So far, all that I've heard is about review. And that could not be a policy. So let's wait. We have been told they don't have enough food. And the government has also directed that they should release some food.
Yesterday, there were some releases.
Which is a good attempt. For me, what I want to see is sustainable funding for free SHS.
Now that you mentioned sustainable funding, let me just run these quickly by you. One, there were some claims, some not official, that, it will become more like day, not boarding. You heard some claims like that. Officially, I've not heard that. So let's leave it. What would be your thinking on that? What is your thinking on Haruna Idrisu? You know, he's the minister designate for education. And I'm putting these more to you because you are an academic. And then again, the free SHS bill did not see the light of day in the 8th Parliament, and we'll have to now contemplate it in the 9th. Maybe an opportunity for some of the review we spoke of. What do you think on these?
Well, for being a day, or it's difficult at this stage because I don't know the push of this administration now. Before the election, it was about review. When we get power, we'll review. We'll have to wait and see what the meaning of that review. Appointing Haruna, fantastic gentleman, solid background, experience-wise, so good. The last position he held, I don't know, was the Minister of Employment or so.
Employment and Labor Relations, I think.
That was, and we are here to check the track record of that position that he held. But for me, from afar, he's a fine gentleman. I'm sure the people in the North also will appreciate his level of expertise in that area. So let's see what happens.
And the bill?
And the bill, I've not seen development on that bill yet. Maybe after this show, I'll also find out what the position of that bill is now.
I realized you were going to make some
but
comments.
I think if you can come back to that Greek...
okay, sure. And then when Kwame Nkrumah comes in, he summarizes on those two. So yes, go ahead.
Okay, use agric to reset economy. But we've been having pieces of resetting economy. I don't know whether agric is the panacea to resetting the economy. But Bokwen is, Prof is a very good friend, and I know that he does a lot in the finance area. And coming out of this comment is quite telling. If you want to use agric to reset the economy, then the country must have potential, significant potential for agric. Do we have that as a country? Yes, we do. Look at the lands that we have. For me, it's a good call. Because over the years, we have been using agric, or agric has been the backbone of this economy in terms of employment generation, food security. And if we want to use it to reset the economy, for me, look at things that we bring into the country. A lot of things that we can easily get them here. And if you don't develop that sector well, we'll have issues in the economy. All the time we depend on things that we bring from. But look at the lands we have. The other challenge is that we have to be careful also, we invest more in infrastructure, roads. If we want this to be used to reset the economy, then the roads, the network leading to the villages, the communities, should be developed well. And that's what would be my submission on this.
Okay, Prof Kobby.
Yes,
a bit quickly in about some 40 seconds.
The agric story is also something I noted. Yesterday's graphic, there was a very good story on agric. And the writer made the point that in the past, you had the government giving grants to big farms like Sidal's farms, Ejura farms, Dako farms, and that
poultry, Dako farms, poultry back then.
Exactly. Sidal's to poultry, Ejura farms, and the writer was making the point that these should be revisited. I think it's a good idea. Agric is not merely about food. Even rubber, I mean, what we get plastics from, almost everything more or less is planted. When we think agric, we only think food. But there are so many other things that agric can do. It can contribute to our exports. So I agree with the writer that a lot of attention should be given to agric. The government should give grants to farmers and even others, those of us who may want to go into farming, who are not necessarily farmers, who may have some land or some people to support. Okay. However, it should be sustainable farming because there's also a type of farming that can destroy the forest. Otherwise, you risk having another type of galamsey. So by all means, let agric be in the top 3. Okay. But make sure it's sustainable.
Let me quickly do this before we get out of here, sweetie, if you'd indulge me. I see on page 4, happy birthday, Cynthia Mamle Morrison. And here she's 61. She's spoken to us a few times. So we celebrate her. I think she's been Minister for Gender, Women at a point. So happy birthday to her. Happy birthday in advance. We don't usually do this, but tomorrow is your birthday. Miriam Awo Jifa Vojagbe, tomorrow is your birthday. Fantastic person. Happy birthday to you and keep being you. And finally, I'll celebrate Siru Africa for another wonderful outfit. If you love what I am wearing, it's by Mudasiru of Siru Africa. You can reach them on 0557 029 138. 0557 029 138. Or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, at SIRU-Africa. That is Siru-Africa. Sweetie Abochi, yes. I hear it's the birthday of one of our lovely colleagues.
Mrs. Elike Madanse.
Yes, the Adansite.
Happy birthday, darling. We love you. We wish you the very best. And we haven't seen you around in a while. Gentlemen, I was expecting someone to say something about Sami Jemfi's appointment to the Precious Mineral Marketing Commission. And nobody said anything.
Yo, I saw it, that he's saying
let's take a break now.
We'll return
with sports with Mufta Nabila, and he's serving you Prime Take today. Stay.
In your footballing journey, what would you describe as your highest moment from being a footballer? Is it winning the 63 and 65 AFCONs?
Yeah, that is all. Because that has brought something to the country.
What about your challenging moment? Which one would you say is your challenging moment?
Challenging moments.
Your challenging moment as a footballer? I know it's been long. It's been many, many years ago. But probably something might have happened that up to date is still in your mind.
Republicans, we had an accident at Pandu.
Yes, when you went to Pandu,
Yes,
and you were coming back.
I was with them.
You were in the team?
Yes, but I got out from the car.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, because and is that accident that ended the career of Baba Yara?
Yes,
because,
that is it. Baba Yara was with him. We were also at Kande State. This is my block. This is block. So I was with him.
Because reading the history of Ghana football, it is one of the things that many of you, in fact, I remember when I spoke to Ulafos and Fum as well. Yes. Reverend was saying Kofi. They all spoke about that accident when you people went to Pandu and you were coming back and the accident happened.
But the two were not in.
But Reverend spoke about how it affected Baba Yara.
Oh yes.
Yes.
It affected him. Yeah.
He never played football again, huh?
Yeah, from that time. And he was one of our best players.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, when he gets hold of the ball, before you can take it from him, and before you can take it from him, those scorers too, we are there. So he had given it to us
already.
already.
Sent it forward to the scorers to score. Reverend.
Yes, sir.
How proud were you representing Ghana at the highest level?
I don't know how I should
describe
it, but I take something from what Kobby Mensah said. He said, many people, your parents and so, they have not even bothered playing before. They have not stood in for a nation. But we were going to represent a nation. So we are good, we are high. He told us to be happy about the football we are playing. But he also said that when he does anything, because he's leading the nation, he does it with all his heart. That's what we should follow. So that is all I can say.
You play with all your heart.
Yes.
You gave everything to the nation.
Of course. Therefore, I can't go to the field with the aim of not scoring goal, or we as a team not winning. I didn't know even the Lord was calling me, was going to call me. We almost every time I say we can beat these people, we can beat them.
You were always calling?
Oh yes, in the plane. So, at times you see one of us as if he is not happy. As he's thinking.
Yes.
I say, what do you say? We know you better show.
Maybe he has butterflies in his stomach ahead of the game because it's normal as human when you're going to the battlefield.
Of course.
It's normal.
Of course, yeah. Some will make it better. Who say no, we know you better show. We know, Abrofo. See, Abrofo, they won't me and go I will tell any story to just get encourage them.
Everyone to go out there and give up their time.
Yeah.
But also talk to me about this. As someone who played football, represented a country, went to the AFCON, won it twice with the country, how were you able to overcome challenges that were encountered in the team? How did you overcome those challenges?
We decided to do what we have been told. You see, as I told you, Nkrumah will call certain people, or Hinjan will call certain people to come and talk to us. And then he will be talking about our own life.
Okay.
And then as a Ghanaian.
Okay.
So it all tells us that we should go and die for the nation. That is the end of the conversation.
So that was the key motivation?
Yes, that was the key motivation. We should play without thinking anything. We should go and die. We shouldn't think of anything because we are for Ghana. as he is there, if anything comes, he will refer us to himself.
Interesting. Yeah. What advice would you give to your younger self? Your younger self. Let's say, yourself. So would I say at this age, I think I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done that when I was young. What advice would you give?
In football or
generally in life?
Generally.
Yes.
Well, as for me, I was always thinking of not going to the secondary school, but that was something I couldn't change it. Whether you get money after and you can go back. I used to think of that I didn't go to secondary, but I passed. I passed.
So advise any of your grandchildren for me. I said, oh, when I was at your age many years ago, I was not able to do this. So you have this opportunity or that opportunity to succeed. Just say you are just advising your grandchildren. What would you tell them?
I will do that at home.
So advise us now. We are young men. What should we do? That you were not privileged to have them many years ago. So as young as we are, what advice would you give to young children?
You should find a school to go. Education.
Yeah. You should prioritize education.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Because there are many things that when you go there, you will know than not going there.
Yeah. Okay, so Reverend also talked to me. They claim that many years ago when you people were playing football, there were lots of juju involved.
Juju?
Did you ever do some?
One time when I was at secondary 11-wise, when I went to the team, Greater Hunters.
Okay.
We were our coach came to us.
Okay.
And he said we should go for juju something from somebody. And I told him that person is a human being. I wasn't a believer. I wasn't even a Christian. I told him that man is not God. He cannot tell me what to do. So I won't do it.
So you never took part?
Yes, I never took part in that thing. And that match too, I played and I scored goal.
So since your younger self, you never believed that juju works in
What
football?
is juju? No. I have not.
Your very good friend, Reverend Kofi, told me how he even had to swallow calories.
He was a champion. So once he told you, you have been told already. And for me, I can't. Oscar, hey.
See, he was made to swallow calories. Oh. They took him to go and see dwarfs and all.
Yeah.
But you never took part in anything.
No. In our matches, I was somebody like a pastor in the church, in the Republicans.
Oh, really?
This so and so. They were two people. Their names they are all dead. Two people that unless you give him something,
yes,
and tell him something, that when you get to this place to do this, take this stone,
or something, or
when you go to throw it here, before he can play, and then I have to do it. We will quite to have no touch in the corner. You better show they will not be able to play good football unless you tell them those things.
Why?
Kofodia, we went to Kofodia. We were playing Kofodia team, Republicans. They said that they have made juju at the two gates, so we should climb. They brought a ladder that we should climb to this place and then go to the other side before we can go to the park. I said, I won't go. If they will not let me play, I will go home. I will come back to Accra without these people. I won't do it. And I didn't know anything. My father was Didn't tell anybody. He didn't tell me anything, but I was doing those things.
It reminds me recently that was it Great Olympics of HM They went for a Ghana Premier League game, and they went into the stadium with their back. Instead of walking front, they went there.
They don't want to face the things that are sent there. Okay.
Some of these YouTube stories are interesting.
Yeah,
But everybody speak to me. How did you transition post-football into ministry? How did that all come about?
From
football to ministry.
To ministry.
How did you transition? Because many of your colleagues often get into coaching and all that. Did you ever do your coaching badges though?
No. I didn't do any coaching, but I started from Asamankasi. They
like teaching the community?
Community people.
Football.
And then I happened, but when I came to play too, I happened to know more.
Oh, okay.
And so I can just tell you the old one and the new one together.
The basics. Okay. But you didn't get into coaching back?
No. I didn't go to any place.
Okay. So tell me about the story of getting into ministry. How did that happen? Or you were sleeping one night and God called you and said, "Hey, Reverend Kofi, but you need to become a Reverend minister."
Somebody came to me.
Okay.
No. I went to my farm, North Carnation.
You have a farm at North Carnation?
Yes, I had a plot there.
Oh, okay.
And then when I went there, a man came there and he spoke with me about God's word. And then I accepted Christ there. From there, I became a Christian.
He came to the farm?
Yes, to the farm.
To come and tell you about God's word? How did that just happen?
Well, it was something like a plot in town.
Yes.
Not a farm.
Yes.
A plot in town, you can see people.
Oh, yes. So he just came there.
Yeah.
Speak to you about Christ.
Yeah.
You accepted Christ
there
and then.
Christ and then. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting one there.
Yeah.
You felt God sent him?
Yes.
And God has done some miracles in your life? Have you witnessed?
Big one.
I mean, God, maybe some kind of miracles in your life.
Wonderful.
Wonderful stuff.
Let us run to the other side. Did you bring question? I said, let us run to the other side, me and you.
Okay. Talk to me about ministry. How impactful has it been in your life?
In my life?
Yes.
Well,
as a Reverend minister.
As you see me here today, what you have said, what you have seen, say it.
I said you were 86 and fit.
So take it. Fit. I'm fit. I'm not sick.
That's the impact of ministry in your life?
That's right.
That's the impact of ministry in your life?
Oh, yeah. Some people have also come through my ministry too.
So you have a church?
No. I belong to Church of Pentecost.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you've not built your own church? Kind of.
No. I did it. And then after that, I joined Church of Pentecost.
So you did your own church before joining the Church of Pentecost?
Yeah.
So you gave your church to the church, or you merged it with the Church of Pentecost?
We merged.
You merged?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Those who were outside too, I asked them to join the Church of Pentecost, but some joined and some didn't join.
So what was the name of your church?
Good News Chapel.
Good News Chapel. Look, when I walked into your house, I saw this citation over there that was talking about how in 1963 you brought loads of joy to the country and all that, and you were on it.
Yeah.
The Nationals.
63 and the 65.
Yeah. Interesting. I've seen that. So, Reverend, we're just wrapping the conversation now.
Yeah.
I didn't ask about your number of children you have. How many children do you have?
3.
You have 3 children?
Yeah.
But Reverend, why did you give that to only 3 children?
Only?
Yeah.
Mommy, when you bring 3 children, you haven't done anything. Thank you. That's all. Take that answer for me.
So you have 3 children?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. I realized that you brought to this country, what? A couch, is it to Atukwe Fio, right?
Atukwe Fio.
Yes. You recall Jones Atukwe Fio? The former coach of Accra House of Oak. He also coached the Black Stars. Was he your teammate? Was he your playmate?
I coached him at the secondary
school. You
school.
coached him?
Yeah, at the secondary school, Salem Secondary School. I brought him to Black Stars. I went to tell Ohinja that I have a school team, and that boy is one of the players I asked him to. Yeah. So I made the call. Then I made the Blasters. I took a few was called to Blasters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a good one. I took a few.
Yeah. He was staying on this Scanish market. Just think about 2 houses from the market.
One of the revered figures in Ghana football is Tukwefio.
Yeah.
At least for the young generation myself.
Yeah. He was a very good. I trained him at Salem Secondary. When I went there, you know, everyone you train already played before you can train him.
Yeah.
So he was doing all what he know as a footballer who can be trained. So I trained him. He was a good footballer, and I helped him.
Okay. Reverend, I just want to start out a conversation with, I don't know if I should do 2 quick questions. But do you still follow Ghana football? Do you still pay attention? Do you watch the Black Stars play?
Okay.
Do you often watch?
At times, I don't know, there is football match.
And
the television will. I'll go and ask my grandson what he says. So by 3 o'clock there will be match.
There will be a match.
And at times too, we open it. Then I will see it. But I don't know what question you will ask me the next. But there are times I wouldn't like. I would have not liked to see the match. I wouldn't.
Why?
Because the way they play, it's not teamwork. It's not teamwork. They need, I don't know. You all have heard about the coaches. So they should put it there. But when they come to us, and then when I get somebody who can pay money for players, I can get good players than them.
Really?
I know who are good players.
The current players are not good enough?
There are so many of them who are not good.
Wow.
If I'm making selection, I will not select them.
But the game has changed, though, right?
What has it made? Has the polls changed? The field, has it changed? The markings, have they changed?
But they say football today is scientific.
Scientific? How?
In the 60s and
okay, in the 60s, what did they see which is not scientific? Or which is scientific and not scientific? Of course, when we are talking of football, I think I would have liked to get the elderly people of my age.
Yeah.
Yes. They have seen us, and they know us.
Yes, yes.
You didn't see us.
No. I never did. I never did. Even if we don't even have clips to see what people were doing, actually. We only heard stories, and those of us who are actually even interested read. I've read from Kofi Bedu.
Kofi Bedu, your press.
I've read from Ken Bidiako.
Ken, I spoke to him yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday.
Yeah. They have written books for us to read. Other than that, we don't have even known that some of the stories that have existed in Ghana football. But Reverend, for the first time in over 20 years, Ghana has not qualified to the AFCON. Are you disappointed?
Yes. Something we have done and it has not been continued.
Where did we get it wrong?
They should meet with us.
But
Those of us living.
But are you also willing to meet them?
Pardon me?
Have you also made steps, because this is your game? You build the foundation of the game.
Do they know we exist? They don't know we exist. But our names are there. So we exist. They have to meet with us. Yesterday there was a radio station, I've forgotten to swear, so I called and it was after they have closed. And I said, the news that I heard was so many things should have been told to him. I have to tell him so many things. The coaches, about the players, about so and so, shooting, even shooting. They need to call us, and then we display to them. They have to also call the former coaches.
Yeah.
The former coaches, our time coaches.
Yeah.
They are very good. They can train them.
And even offer some advice. But
yes, it's advice they need to hear.
Yeah.
But if they will follow the advice.
In 40 years, over 40 years, Ghana has not won the AFCON. Actually.
Yeah, that is the reason of the difference. That's the reason. We at times I have to come and sit down here or be walking when they are playing football. I can't watch it. I told you about Accra Stadium.
Yeah.
I've told you already.
What
I've told you about House of Folk and Olympics. I haven't told you.
No.
I went to, that was my last match watched at the stadium. I decided to watch it at home. I went to the stadium. And then Olympics and House of Folk. I saw a player. I am lefty.
Yes.
But I can score with right when you see that I am lefty. They gave him a pass.
Okay.
And then he left.
Okay.
Where he gave the pass and then he went straight. He should have played the ball to the side. He came back to where this man has gone from. And because he didn't play to that side, I thought I was playing. So I was playing to him from here, and then I hit somebody's back. He said, Kofi Pare, kaje bukun. Kaje bukun. He looked at my face and said, if it is not me, he would have beaten me. There wasn't any sense in
the pass. So,
coaches, I don't know. They are good, but they should do more. Of course, they should call us.
You can advise. You can give them some advice.
Advice is they should call the old players. We're about, I think about 13 or so.
Those of you like the 60s and those of you who last won the AFCON in 1963 and 65.
Yes, we are here. We can call us.
Ankra, Ulafosun Foam, yourself, Reverend Kofi.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
63, 65, 78, 82.
Hey, you have the scores there.
Yes.
Hey, let me have a look.
This one you pay. So you pick it.
That's interesting.
You take the picture. But I have to. Later, someone is dead. So now we are 5.
You have your phone numbers too printed?
They are my people.
Oh, I see. That's an interesting one. This is 1965 Tunis.
65, 63, 65, 78, 82. You can take picture and...
Interesting. 63.
65, 70,
Yes.
82. Those people who have won the cup.
So this was 1963, Accra, Ghana, November 24 to December 1, 1963.
It is there.
18 players. And then 65, which was Tunis, 12 November to 21st November 1965. 18 players. And then 78, Accra, Ghana, 22 players. And then 82, Libya, 5th March to 19th March, 22 players. Wow. Interesting. You really have records.
Yes, for that one I have, but I forget. So any place I go, I'll take this one. Yeah.
Wow. Reverend,
So,
do you have any final message you want to share with us? Maybe advice to the football community, the football family?
The advice is that they should find good coaches and they should listen to them.
They should listen to the coaches?
Yeah, they should obey them.
They should obey
They should find good coaches. And then the next question will be to somewhere. Who are the good coaches?
Yeah, tell us, who are good coaches?
Good coaches, we have them there. We have even Ghanaian coaches. Some of them are like us. You should go and ask them. I think you know some of them.
Yeah, I do.
Somebody like who?
Someone like yourself?
No, I am not. I am not
Because
a
you're
coach.
experienced in the game and you can advise.
Ose Kofi can coach. And then Uli Kluche.
Yeah, Uli Kluche, yeah.
Kluche is there. Sunday Ibrahim.
Yeah, Ibrahim Sunday.
I've forgotten some of them.
Yeah, but Sunday Ibrahim, yeah, they can, because Sunday Ibrahim, he coached. In fact, he actually won the African Interclub competition with Kotoko. So yeah, Sunday Ibrahim, yeah.
Yeah, they can. And then Kwesi Appiah. Kwesi Appiah Kotoko. What has he done to Ghana? You don't know.
I recall when he came and drew here and took us to Morocco and beat us.
He took us to Morocco.
Because the thing is that we had to follow him and go there, and he beat us. And denied an opportunity to qualify for the AFCON that I was talking about.
Okay,
so
so what should this man be told, or what should be done to that man? He should be brought to Ghana. He should bring them to Ghanaian coaches. He should bring them to Ghanaian football as a coach.
But Reverend, if you appointed the Black Stars coach, right? He played 6 matches, he didn't win a single one of them. For the first time in 21 years, Ghana has not qualified to the AFCON. Would you still keep that coach? Or you sack him?
So which of the two is the latest?
The latest is his failure to qualify to the AFCON. The coach played 6 matches, he couldn't win 1 game, and we didn't qualify. We are not going to the AFCON for the first time in 21 years.
But do you, how do you find who is good and who is not good? Do you know that?
How do we find out?
Who is a good coach and who is not a good coach?
But a good coach is someone who wins you matches.
That's right. That is
measured by your results.
That is one side. And when you get the coaches through, they will tell you another story.
But is a coach good? Is a coach good enough if he plays 6 matches without winning 1 of them?
But don't you think you can get from a class of 30 people, you can get 24 people, and then 6 will be left.
So Reverend, if you were the person appointing the coach, would you have kept him?
Oh no! The whole thing is it has become various coaches. Doesn't go far. This man, he got shot. They called him here. He was doing so and so. They should find people to let them do their work, and then the people who can also watch them if they are doing the right work.
No, Reverend, you've not answered my question. You've dodged my question.
Okay.
Would you sack the coach or you will keep him if he fails to win, take you to the African Cup?
If it is his fault.
But who coaches the team? It is him. It's the coach who coaches the team. So if he's not able to win a single game, he's not able to qualify for it. the tournament. Who takes responsibility? He should be taking responsibility. Oh.
Okay, what you think? If it will help us, let us take it.
Reverend Kofi Pare has been my guest here on Prime Take. Thank you very much, Reverend. I appreciate your time so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you too for coming.
Thank you. Thank you
with
so
your
much.
team.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless you all.
Thank you. Bless you more.
Welcome back on the AM show. We get into our big stories. Now, President John Dramani Mahama's government is shaping up as he makes yet another set of major ministerial nominations and appointments. But are these one of loyalty or competence? Our seasoned political analyst will join us shortly to analyze these matters. We have a number of them. We start with Professor Kobby Mensah. He's Professor of Marketing at the University of Ghana Business School. Also joining the conversation, Dr. John Osai Kwapong. He's a CDD fellow. We have Dr. Kwame Asante, head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. All of them join the conversation. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning to you too, Benjamin. Happy New Year.
Same to you, same to you, same to you. It's a pleasure having you. And Prof, congratulations. I see you've created some sort of application that is assisting students. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, Ben, and thank you, for that acknowledgement. John, thanks so much for that as well.
Right.
We're trying to see how best we can help the country in a small way.
Yeah. Education must impact, and thank you for making that impact. But let's get straight into it. The president has started making his nominations. Afenyo Markin said he was making it tot, but now it appears they are coming through in their numbers. And very quickly there, you can see the ministerial appointments. Kwame governs Agboja in there. And of course, he's Minister Designate for Roads and Highways. Haruna Idrisu for Education. Eric Opoku for Agric, as a lot of people were rooting for him. And Haruna Idrisu, of course, he's been a former Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Communication, Trade and Industry, and he's also a member of the Ghana Bar Association. He's been a member of Parliament for Tamale South since 2004. He's former minority leader, the immediate past one, and he is a barrister at law. If you look at Kwame governs Agboja, he's a chartered architect. He's MP for Adaklu. He has qualifications from the Westminster University, and he's a principal consultant, K Plus Partners Limited. It goes on and on, but he's also been the majority chief whip and minority chief whip as well. Eric Opoku is an expert in law, agric, and leadership. He has an LLM in international business law from the University of Essex in the UK. He has a bachelor's in economics and law from the KNUST, and is ranking member of the Food and Agriculture Committee of Parliament. Then you come to some of the others. Trade, in fact, tourism, culture and creative arts. Abla Jifa Gomashi, no surprises in there. Elizabeth Ofosu Ajari, Minister Designate for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. And of course, Gender, Children and Social Protection, Agnes Namomo Latte in there. So there you are with some details, creative arts. And then when you come to the one for trade, there's a lot more there, and also for gender. But let me come to you, Prof. What do you make of these appointments so far? What is your initial take on the caliber of people Mr. President is nominating for approval?
Thank you, Benjamin. I think that you should actually gauge the pulse of the country. I have been, monitoring social media as these appointments coming in, and obviously the conversation on the corridors of our institutions. You could actually have a sense that people are pleased with the appointments. Why? Because there is a combined experience with loyalty. Some of the experiences, you find them either in subject discipline, that the person has the qualifications, the right qualification to understand the sector that they're in. Others are as a result of the previous roles they've played, and majority of them being my deputy ministers, obviously in the previous administrations. And so you have experiences coming from both ends in terms of subject matter, qualifications in terms of having done something in the past. But the most crucial one that perhaps we also have to talk about is the seeming government party connection, which we tend to forget. This is politics. You should understand that these appointments are political appointments. You have a government that has been bestowed a very huge mandate, both from the country and from the party perspective. Now, you need to satisfy the country whilst you actually have a listening ear to the nuances of the politics or of the political party, in order that you could actually tame any possible apathy, from the political parties front. And so if you look at the appointment, very much most of them having constituencies because they are MPs. Clearly, there is a demand from the constitution perspective. But also, if you look at previous appointments, although there is a demand from a constitution perspective, some of the signature appointments had actually gone to people who did not hold, parliamentary positions, and they were key appointments. You had people talking about, having worked within the political party, and there is no sort of recognition for that. In this case, it's completely different. You see a very tactical approach of connecting the government to the party, which I think is essential. So for me, there is a certain overarching excitement regarding the appointment. Of course, there will be disappointment. And so you would hear some people, obviously in the corridors, complaining. But, generally, there is a certain welcoming, of these appointments. Perhaps it could be the kind of the byproduct of the excitement that greeted the party in terms of the party winning the election, overwhelming majority. But I think that in a general sense, it is the acceptance of these people who have actually been nominated. They are not fanciful people. They are not extravagant people. They're not, the lists that are coming out, almost everyone, you could hear or you could feel that they have cool heads, they have what it takes, they've been part of the political architecture, and I think they will do well.
Prof, you mentioned almost everyone. So what are the gaps there? Have you identified any that don't fit in that bill of qualified, competent, experience?
I will be very honest with you. I haven't seen anyone so far that you would say that is actually coming short of expectation. I think for now, the president and his team have done a lot of work to identify fits into these positions.
When you look at them in terms of their qualifications, you've mentioned that some of them have experience from the past and all that. But there are those who are also new to this setting. For example, the National Youth Organizer, who is now going to take on the Ministry for Youth and Empowerment and all of that. When you assess it from the perspective of first-timers coming into the role, what picture do you see?
Well, not necessarily the position. As I mentioned to you, some of them are coming from the position of past experiences, others from a discipline, experience. Obviously, if you take Ado, for example, he's been the youth commander. They called him the commander, right? He's been the youth commander for so long. The youth ministry is new, but the role of youth leadership is not new. These are guys who have been in the trenches with the youth for so long. Obviously, that gives him the experience, understanding the nuances of the needs of the youth. obviously he has the qualification that can actually give him the kind of complexity, the ability to understand complex things, and then of course to work with them. So clearly, you wouldn't say that is a limitation because the youth ministry is new. If you take Namomo, for example, she holds a PhD. And I can tell you, anybody who has actually attempted PhD, that's why sometimes they say that people with PhD pretend as if they know everything. And I'm sure my friend, John and Asa will tell you, my friends John and Asa will tell you, by the time you are done with your grilling of a PhD, you're almost like you know everything in this world. And it is true. People come into PhD and they attest to it that, wow, it is really a preparatory grounds. I don't think that being new to the Ministry of Gender actually means that perhaps she is limited. Now, Momo with a PhD from the University of Ghana, well, you couldn't actually talk about, not fit for the position. So for me, almost everyone, in the meantime, looks perfectly fit for the positions that they occupy, whether they're new or whether they have been in the game in terms of the ministry, heading ministry for long. What is crucial is about their temperament, about their understanding, about their, you would call the soft skills in managing institution and connecting the needs of the country with the expectations of the political party. These are the essentials that you would appreciate. I mean, there are people that have been appointed to political positions and people have gone ballistic. Why? Because they don't have the temperament. They behave as if it is an individual, entrepreneurship work that they dictate, what they have to do. But these guys, having been appointed, these are party organizational people. They understand the politics of government business. They understand policy. And they understand working to the interest of almost every stakeholder. And that's why I think that so far I haven't actually found any weakest link in the appointment so far. Of course, we wait to see their performance. But for now, I don't think that I can see any weak.
Right. Let me quickly give the opportunity to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong and Dr. Hassan Asante to just share their thoughts on the same matter, taking into perspective what Professor Mensah just made mention of, temperament and how they handle it, soft skills, and then how they will connect the needs of the people or the needs of the administration with the expectations of the people. Dr. Osai-Kwapong, your assessment.
Thank you very much. And yes, as Professor Kobby Mensah just said, on the last point that you raised, that would be one of the key things of a good technocrat. So most of the time, when appointments are made in government to any given ministry or government organization, one of the questions that would always come up is whether the person has the subject matter expertise in that particular policy domain. But more than just the subject matter expertise, the person also has to be a very good technocrat. And being a good technocrat involves a number of things, right? How do you navigate your own bureaucracy? How do you get a good understanding of your ministry? Because the president has particular policy priorities that he wants to implement. And it's entrusting that you would have both the policy and the political skills to be able to ensure that whatever ministry you are placed at becomes an important vehicle in ensuring that you can get those policies and programs through. Also, how you manage the people in your ministry, because it is these same people who become the frontline persons, what in public administration we call your street level bureaucrats, who would be involved in the everyday implementation of policies and programs. And then you also become the technocrat who manages a number of relationships between your ministry and a number of key stakeholders. So how do you manage the relationship between your ministry and the public, for example? Because the public has expectations, the public will be watching, seeing what is being done. How you manage the relationship between your ministry and parliament, especially around oversight issues, especially around budgeting issues, for example, become very important things for these technocrats to be able to do. The other thing, though, that I would also mention is that I think the president has to be commended in the way he's been very intentional about getting the gender balance right. Now, in his campaign, he promised 30% gender balance. And the way that is going, he's not too far away from achieving that. And that becomes also very critical because the Affirmative Action and Gender Equity Bill is looking at, government as one of the entities that would go a long way in ensuring that we get some gender parity and some gender equity. And I like how he's been intentional in ensuring that he's able to strike that balance. I was telling a friend yesterday that I know he promised 30%, but from the way he's going, I can see, 40% will be historic, but those will be my initial comments about the way the appointments are going so far.
Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, your take, and then...
Yeah, I think so far what I've seen is everything pointing to the fact that the president is ready to do business. And looking at it from so many perspectives, you can understand that he has hit the ground running. What I'm looking at it from two perspectives. The caliber of people he had put into, he want to nominate for these positions. And that is from the point of view of those individuals. There are people with experience, the experience not necessarily in politics. Those with political experience, we can see them. Those with academic experience and professional experience, bringing them onto this type of business. Then you have those people with a lot of backgrounds in terms of their competence and skills from where they come from. In politics, you don't necessarily need somebody who has been political or partisan in political activities before you appoint them. You can appoint anybody fresh, provided he has what it takes to be able to manage public office. And remember that he is not the only person who is going to do the work. There are bureaucrats who are going to help him to navigate his way through that terrain. And all that a minister has to do is that you are alert about what the work you are going to do, but at the same time, you have a listening ear to listen to the technocrats for suggestions and ideas. So from personal perspective of those he has he want to put into office, I can say that it's something interesting, and we are looking forward to that. In terms of constitutional and other requirements, you can see this appointment having a manifestation in that regard. Let's look at the issue of gender, which my brother, Dr. Sain, has already alluded to. You can see gender featuring, and it's part of the requirement from our rules and regulation regarding ministerial appointment. So gender, he's trying to do his bit, and I have no doubt in my mind that he can go beyond the 30%. I have no doubt the way he has started. But even if he should stop at 30, we are home and dry. But as children of Oliver, we want more. I would have wished that we can get about 40% of women in parliament so that we encourage a lot of women in public offices and in partisan politics. They have a lot to share, except that we have not taken advantage and tapped into their expertise for the benefit of society. Apart from gender, the Constitution requires us to be able to have a regional balance. And if you look at them, they come from various regions, and it's giving that picture for us that he also respects that provision in the Constitution and all that. We are also seeing the issue of what competence and experience bringing to bear in this regard. Take, for instance, somebody like Haruna Idrisu. He has seen it all in terms of politics and in terms of even academic life and the rest of them. I have no doubt in my mind that going into one of the biggest ministries in Ghana, in fact, the #1 ministry, in terms of its size and expenditure and all that, Education Ministry. He has been able to acquit himself very well with his political offices that he has held, former minister, former minority leader, and then being an MP and all that. Remember, when he was a student at the University of Ghana, he was the NUCS president. He's very familiar with the academic terrain, as NUCS were always having conversation and discussion with authorities managing the country's universities. So he has had a lot of experience in that regard. So he's coming with a wealth of experience from academic standpoint of view, from professional standpoint of view as a lawyer, and then from a partisan political point of view, he has seen it all. So I have no doubt in my mind that he will live up to expectation. All that he has to do is that he avails himself to the direction and then discussion from his colleagues in the ministry. I'm talking about the bureaucrats, so that they can guide him to navigate his way through this difficult terrain. And
Doc,
then,
and Doc, please make that the final point so that we can also let the conversation flow.
Yeah, the last bit I want to say is that if you look at the type of appointment, it is a blend between the old guards and new guards, so that the young one can learn under the feet of the old guards. And this bears resemblance with what President Kufuor did in his tenure. You saw senior moves, experienced people holding the fort, and then young people, Abubakar Siddiq and the rest, learning under their feet. And in no time, they also learned the ropes well and took up with the mantle. So I can see that. And if you are very much alive to politics in Ghana, you can see the kind of people he's bringing, even behind the scenes, and who are also actively supporting Guzi Tano, Tutubi Kwache, and the rest. These are people who graduated from the PNDC onto the NDC, and they have a wealth of experience that they want to bring to bear. And once a while, they throw one of them into ministerial positions, and the rest they hide behind. So you realize that it's a conscious effort to get things done.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Let me go to Dr. John Osai-Kwapon. I mean, Doc has already alluded to Mohammed's, striking a balance between bringing in fresh new faces and relying on seasoned politicians. But in your expert opinion, how does this, the appointments and nominations we are seeing so far, how does it compare with previous administrations in terms of generational leadership changes and continued reliance on veteran politicians?
You see a mix, you see a mix of both. Every administration wants to strike a balance between bringing in experienced hands, people who have worked with them in government before, even if they were serving in a different kind of portfolio, right? That you still need the experience. At the same time, you also could use some fresh faces, some new hands who could bring a different kind of thinking, a different way of approaching governance. So you want a blend of the two. The experienced people become important mentors to your new hands in terms of how you navigate the difficult terrain of trying to govern and trying to implement policy. So you see some of that. You also see inclusion of people who are strong party people, because you also need to add that dimension of ensuring that you get the politics and the party relationships right. Because there's governing is not just about policy and program implementation. You also have to make sure that you can manage the politics and get the politics right. So you do see administrations tending to do what you're seeing here, which is experienced new persons, party people, and as the Constitution also requires, having a majority of them coming from Parliament. Which
so the president is not doing anything new?
Not anything new in the sense of how he's approaching it, right? I mean, the gender balance thing is extremely commendable, but in terms of the strategy of getting balancing experience with new faces, fresh hands, ensuring that you have party people as well to help you govern, I think has been a well-established strategy that most of previous administrations have tried to do.
Right. With the conversation about, rewarding party loyalists with some of the appointments, how does this really, shape the perception of citizens in terms of trusting this administration's competence to move us forward?
Well, you can't move away also from having party loyalists in your government, right? Every president needs a group of people that he or she can really trust to help him or her govern. And so you will definitely have to turn to some persons in your party to help you do that. We've seen that from administration to administration. The key thing is, even though loyalty is priced, so long as you're not putting loyalty above competence. Again, it's striking that balance between this person is competent enough, but I also know that I can trust this person, to implement my policy ideas, my agenda, and all of that. So for me, no matter what, you would have to, every administration would have to tend to its most trusted people to help them, to help them govern.
Right. Ben?
Let me bring in Professor Kobby Mensah quickly. I mean, in terms of marketing, you know what must be done, even in the political terrain. If you look at the marketability of the different characters, then the regional context or balance also comes into play. And some seem to have noticed a pattern where representation from the Volta region and the Ashanti region, curiously, are a bit on the low side. What is your reaction?
Well, I suppose the president hadn't actually finished the appointment. I think I heard it somewhere that he has about 5,000 plus appointments, if I'm right. And then, of course,
I heard about the fact that he had received thousands of CVs for 60 ministerial posts.
It's very too early to actually make the argument that, those areas are actually sort of reduced or toned down in terms of, the appointment that we are talking about. So for me, I think that, yes, people are in haste. It looks like people are in hurry. They want to hear names. Obviously, people are jittery because of what they know about the political system. Some people would say that, yes, if you don't actually, go about lobbying, etc., they can pass you by, they can forget you. But I think that, as we said, the president has, quite a lot of appointments to make. In fact, some sensitive areas haven't still been mentioned. We haven't heard about foreign ministry. We haven't heard about Ministry of Health. I don't know. Have we heard about Ministry of Health? No. The agencies, we haven't heard about them. And there are some strategic agencies, you understand? So I think that people have to be a little bit circumspect in the way that they actually speculate about things. Obviously, Ashanti region and the Volta region are very important places for people. But don't forget, in Parliament, for example, you have Volta representation, Volta region representation. When they appointed the Ashanti regional minister, the young man, you could see the excitement, of that particular appointment. You could see the hailing, for that particular appointment. So I think that it is too early to actually suggest that there is a certain lower representation of some, areas until the entire appointment come out. And I think that that's what people should do. People are in too much of a hurry, they are pushing themselves forward. But allow the president to actually take the right decisions for the country. I have no doubt, that he would actually represent, or he would ensure a fair representation for almost, all the places. And I also say that, look, the president has 4 years. If we're not going to get the Akufo-Addo type of government, then of course you should expect a certain reshuffle, all right? Because obviously Akufo-Addo was completely, opposed to reshuffle. A point that he made was that if he thinks that his ministers are actually performing, why change them, But of course, if we're not going to get that kind of posture from, President Mahama, which I don't think that we're going to have anything closer to Akufo-Addo, given the way that he's appointed, then of course you would also expect that there could be a reshuffle along the line, and there will be other people who probably might be on the list too. When I say list too, I mean a reshuffle period. Now, if you look at this marketability that you mentioned, you could see a striking difference between Akufo-Addo's administration and the current administration in a way that certain key positions have gone to connect the government to the party. If you take the first three appointments that was made, all right, clearly the finance ministry, the finance minister is someone that is very, very connected to the party in terms of obviously having a constituency, all right, as an MP. You had the energy minister very connected to the party as an MP. And then, of course, you had the justice minister very connected to the party. That wasn't the case in Akufo-Addo's era. I mean, Akufo-Addo had a finance minister whom, with all due respect, I don't think that had actually sat in a party meeting before in terms of a constituency level, all right? So certainly the nuances of the politics of the local party, I doubt if he was very much in tune. And so you could see that there was things boiling at the base of the political party. Yet he was adamant because he's not a party person. He doesn't understand the nuances of the party. So even when the parliamentarians actually ganged up against him, he could definitely, he didn't even shirk, Now, when you look at, obviously, Dami, for example, the justice minister, I'm not sure that he sat in the constituency party meeting before, but these are the people who are holding sensitive positions. Obviously, you wouldn't talk about Boache Jaku because he's a very much party person. But of course, that's the one that he didn't last, So, and I'm talking about just the first three appointments in comparison with Nunga Ado. If you go down the line, you will see quite a lot of appointments, sensitive appointment that has no connection or least connection with the party. So in the first place, in terms of marketability, and in marketing, we talk about internal marketing, you had a lot of disgruntlement from within the party itself before it blew up to the country, the entire country. So yes, you could see a very appealing processes, gender appeal. You could see, demographic appeal in terms of, the geographical spaces, in terms of the gender spaces. You could see geographical spaces where key, regions are seeing representation. And then, of course, you could see a certain country that is welcoming these appointments because you have people with cool heads, people who don't see that they are, buoyant or they are overly domineering, as we saw in the previous, appointments. And then you could see a certain experience and qualification being brought to bear. So for me, those who think that certain areas haven't been, regions haven't been represented, they should turn down. They should know that we have 4 years to go. They should know that the president has about 5,000 appointments. There are agencies, of course, there are ministries, and there are certain, state-owned enterprises. All these are crucial places that people could be satisfied. They should turn down.
All right. My final bit to you very quickly on this point. Capacity, ethics, all of those, and you've spoken about the demographics, gender balance and all of that, and the key sectors, energy, justice, and finance. But do you feel, looking at the trajectory, that Mr. President will be able to meet the target of 60? Just a quick thought on that, and I'll shoot that to our other guests as well.
I have no doubt. It's a key promise. There are promises that are flagship promises, and these are one of them. I mean, everyone, even those political novices, would have the ability to judge or to measure whether the president is actually fulfilling his promises by these key promises. 60 ministers, you said it across, the campaign trail. If you disappoint, that would be the beginning of people's mistrust. I don't think that he would actually want to start his administration on that bad footing. He will stick to 60.
Okay, he'll stick to 60. Dr. Kwame Asante, do you also have that same confidence? And then Dr. Osai Kwapong, and we'll move on. Dr. Asante.
Yeah, I don't think he has a choice here. He promised, and he has to deliver based on his promise. Okay. And that will be the beginning of how people will assess his regime going forward. So that is my answer to that.
Right. Dr. Osai Kwapong.
Yes, he will be able to do the 60. He should be able to do the 60. He must do the 60. It's a campaign promise. These are the low-hanging fruits that if you're unable to fulfill, it begins to chip away at the trust that people have in you. So yes,
I have a quick follow-up. Does that mean if he does, for example, 62, 64, 65, you would be aggrieved? Would you be worried?
I will be worried for him in the sense that people are watching. People have expectations. People want to see something different. And the last thing you want is in your early days, you may think it's small, but these things can be very impactful. And the last thing you want is, oh, you promised 60 and you have 61. You'll be amazed how voters can interpret something like that within the context of your promise. So that's why I said, as the guys would say, NLO, Jamie, you have to do 60.
60 is 60. And it reminds me
for me. It must be 60.
But Ben, even the 60, you know my position. He can even make it 90. You know my 19 scheme. So the 60, he has no choice than to make the 60. Otherwise, I'll recommend that he makes it 19. So that we reduce the price the more. The expenditure on that, yes. Yeah.
So
you remember I talked about the 19?
I do. During the news review some time back, I remember.
Yes.
Dr. Kwame Asante, the way we are lauding and commending these appointments, does it apply to other state-owned enterprises as well? Like Sami Jemfi going to the precious minerals, is it marketing? Yes, management, or marketing rather, commission and all that. Is it the same narrative about competence and, generational leadership changes and new faces and all that? Is this the same thing that applies to the ministerial appointments to the state-owned enterprises?
Yeah, the president will always have to gauge everything before sending people there. And permit me to quote something from Niccolo Machiavelli and the book that he wrote, The Prince, is that one must be a fox in order to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten off wolves, right? What do we need here? My understanding of this small statement is that you need a strategy, you need a skill, you need action, and you need all the things that you need if you are to make an important decision, such as that, putting people in the boards and other places, because they are part and parcel of the machinery of government. Once you get it wrong, it's going to affect productivity there. And at the end of the day, it will undermine your own fortunes. So much as you want to put in the best for ministerial position, you equally want to do same or even better in other places so that you don't leave any gap there for anybody or critics to attack you from there. It is important. But the real issue is that more often than not, we don't tend to have public conversation relative to those appointments. I mean, people going to boards and all that. We talk very little on. But if the media will bring it to the fore, I tell you, we can also scrutinize and all that. And I trust your media that these are some of the little things that you do, and you will stand above other media houses. You bring it to the fore, and we'll scrutinize and discuss, and then let people also carry them along as we discuss the issues. Yeah.
Let me give the opportunity to Dr. John Osai Kwapong to answer the same question. Do your comments and sentiments about the ministerial appointments apply to those going to the state-owned enterprises as well?
Yes, yes, they do. And particularly for the state-owned enterprises, they even have an special bedding this time around because their operations got flagged a lot in our latest IMF bailout, particularly the financial risk they pose to government. So this time around, anybody being sent to an SOE would gain special attention because part of the work they would have to do is how they move our state-owned enterprises away from some of the losses that some of them have been making to a place of profitability and reducing the risk they pose to government. In fact, in President Mahama's 120-day social contract with the people, one of the things he highlights is the role of SOEs and how you begin to turn them around. So you're right. The competency issue will become even more pronounced as we look at who is going to a particular SOE.
Okay, thank you. Professor Kobby Mensah, you have the final word.
I even think that the SOEs...
We are getting an interruption in your network.
...are the most important. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I even think that the SOEs are the most important at this time, for the government. Why? Because they particularly, unlike ministries, have a certain profitability burden, all right? They're supposed to bring in revenues to the administration. And they're supposed to do so that the administration can have the needed money to finance ministries like education, ministries like health, that are purely social services, right? And because of that, you need certain, people who are very much connected to the administration, call them loyalists, who would be able to block the perceived leakages and make sure that they are optimizing the opportunities for making money in order that you can fund your agenda. So if you look at the PMMC, for example, of course, as one of my colleagues said, these ministries actually have technocrats who actually perform the day-to-day, job. But you need an oversight that is very much plugged in to the administration in terms of being loyal to the president, in terms of not being individualistic, in terms of obeying the command structure of the party.
Right.
Look, Samit is very much connected to the administration. In fact, he has a direct relationship with the president.
Right.
All right. Okay. And I am sure that he will be overly, concerned about helping his boss to, to deliver and to ensure that his mandate is actually fulfilled. And that's why you would have an eye like that. And you see, he said that he's also given the the opportunity to do the gold board. I mean, to build a gold board.
Yes.
The president need a loyalist who can ensure that these are done, than somebody that is of very independent mindset that could actually perhaps not necessarily be deviant to the president directive, but feel that he's his own man and he can do things. So when I saw the appointment, I saw the strategic intent in that, and of course, Samit Jemfi's face, oh my God, was all
Prof, unfortunately, that's all that time will allow us for, but the point has been made, and thank you so much for joining us. We had Dr. John Osai Kwapong, CDD Fellow. We also had Dr. Kwame Asante, the Head of European Studies at the University of Ghana, and of course, Professor Kobby Mensah. He's a Professor of Marketing at UGBS. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. And that would be it for this conversation, Benjamin.
Well, it's been quite the enthralling conversation, but stay with us. Up next, I'll be sharing with you my blunt thoughts and some of the latest developments you want to know about. I'll be talking to you about them. We'll be right back. Welcome aboard. Happy New Year. Do you know why I'm wishing you a Happy New Year on the 17th day? Because throughout this year, you've not got any blunt thoughts. But here I am serving you the first episode of Blunt Thoughts in 2025. And I've titled it, Taming Corruption, Stabilizing Our Power, and Saving the Economy. Mahama's signaling so far. Taming corruption, stabilizing our power, and saving the economy. Mahama's signaling so far. You see, agrobeswa, nefridain, and nopa. And that's why some of us have been watching keenly with eagle-eyed keenness about how he's gone about appointments or nominations so far. Up to this point, I doff my hat to the president. But the work is only just beginning, which is why we're also going to look at one of the crucial promises he made, corruption. And why? Because if you go as far back as President Kufuor, go as far back as even President Rawlings. I want to stick to the Fourth Republic. Do you remember probity, accountability, and all of that? But at a point in time, what we saw was a far cry from the rhetoric. Now, President Mahama has also started talking about, in fact, not now, he's been talking about corruption in the campaign, leading to the elections, and he's continued talking about his commitment to fighting corruption. Recently, he said, we'll tackle corruption head on. That's what he said. We'll tackle corruption head on. And if you go to the manifesto of the NDC, what were some of the things they spoke about? Launch Operation Recover All Loot. Oral. Well, oral is oraling so far. We'll leave it at that, right? All the push and shove and the minority has said, well, boycott it, but I've always said, say, obikase obeto wabo, say obeto wabo, not just saying, so. If you know you've done nothing, why the fear? Relax. But oral, an inquiry into looted state lands. Now, all jokes aside, this is a crucial issue. How some political entities, how some individuals have handled land. I mean, even parks and gardens land, in some cases, like being encroached upon, being taken by individuals. I remember the ecological group, Madam Awule's group, Eco-Conscious Citizens, having to bring to the fore some of these issues. Why? So these issues must be tackled. Conflict of interest legislation for public officials. I feel this is crucial because once you are politically exposed like that, some things, whether it's the V8 or any state vehicles or land, you shouldn't be found engaging in some of those unless there are legal channels for doing so. Set up an independent value for money office. Of course, we know public procurement is one of the places where we bleed the most as a country. And so this would definitely be a step in the right direction. Review the Public Procurement Act, tied to that. So these are some of the promises made. At least oral is oraling. Let's see how things go in that regard. But then the president has also said, if you are among those submitting CVs, beware that this will not be an easy task. It certainly won't be business as usual. So if you're thinking of coming through to make the most of the situation, siphon state resources, the president is saying you may be in for a shock. But let's see whether words will match action. Next slide. He also says any persons who find themselves appointed to public office has to be, or persons, so have to be made aware that they would be held to the highest ethical and professional standards. Here, I just want to take, because in private enterprise, and that's why some people often say that what applies in private enterprise should, to a large extent, apply in public enterprise, because that way, the ethics, the mores, the professionalism, if you translate that into public enterprise, will be far better off. But, so far, those who have been nominated, they appear to reflect this. The problem usually isn't about the start. It's about how it continues. Will they be able to continue ethically, professionally, raising the bar, not just setting the bar, raising the bar? Again, it's early days. Time will tell. And then you go to oral itself, because we are talking about, the first bit about Blunt Thoughts today is dealing with corruption, right? We are still compiling all the cases and we'll be presenting our report to the president soon. So far, the petitions we have received exceed 700. Wow. It has been a daunting task, but there is strong political will and commitment to this cause. I want to see every last one of those 700 once there is adequate evidence backing them coming to the fore. I feel it's the only way we can signal to people that if you do the wrong thing, very likely the consequence will not be favorable for you. And if you don't want that unfavorable consequence, then, or unfavorable outcome, then don't do this one. That's one of the ways. After all, the law, one of the crucial reasons we have law is to serve as a deterrent. So you know, if you kill this and you are caught, this is likely the consequence. Next slide. But it becomes even more interesting when you put all of it into perspective. How much do we lose to corruption every year? This is a conservative figure because this is all the way from, look at that, Ghana Integrity Initiative 2019. We're in 2025. Some figures put it at twice this value. Imagine losing $6 billion to corruption. Just imagine it. The IMF is giving us $3 billion. Multiply that by 2. That's how much we are likely losing to corruption. If we dealt with that, dealt with some of the issues that the Auditor General is often dealing with, don't you think Ghana would be a much better place? And you see, if you leave a human being, taxes, go even to the West, if you give room, people will not pay taxes. But the systems are such that you can't afford not to because of the consequences. Let's make corruption so unattractive that even if you wanted to do it, you wouldn't be able to do it. But it gets even more interesting. Next slide. When you go to our energy sector, the second belt of my conversation, because if you look at the debts there, it stands at 3 billion. And if you look at the devaluation of the cedi, we are talking 45 billion Ghana cedis plus. Next slide. Now, what is the signaling from the energy minister designate? He says on privatization, it's crucial because look, whether privatization or no privatization or some privatization, we have to talk about it because in the end, it will impact us. Do you remember when PDS came? So we must talk about it. We believe there should be private sector participation. Give or take, within this year, we should complete the framework. 2025 is what he's talking about. Next slide. And by the way, next slide. Let me just mention that he's one of the appointees so far who have impressed me the most in terms of his knowledge about his sector. On ECG privatization, Oliver Barker-Vormawor says, if none of our governments can achieve efficiency in managing ECG so that it remains a publicly owned social good, should our government have any business governing us? Let's privatize government then. I say sell government to the Chinese. Of course, I feel this was way below the belt. But that's his thinking, that if you can govern without ensuring that an entity like ECG, look, electricity, water, these are not things you play around with. If you can't handle them well so that they can serve us, and we always get to this point, then are you governing for real? But let's look at other thoughts on it. On ECG's profitability, before I even get to that, it's interesting because if you look at 2012, we're bleeding, we're in deficit, ECG, 136 million. It would go to 246 million, 291 million in 2015, 209 million in 2016, and then look at that, 497 million in 2017, 2.2 billion in the negative, in the red, not in the black, in the red in 2018, 1.46 billion, 410 million in the black. That was a good outturn between 2020 and 2021. But look at where we are now. 10.2 billion in 2023. That's how bad it became. Next slide. So it tells you that ECG itself is bleeding, hemorrhaging badly. And that's a major cause of where we find ourselves. But then if you look at ECG validation reports, because why are we talking about it? Revenue collection. The difference between what they have been declaring in the cash waterfall mechanism, at least for the IPPs and others providing power, and what they have been collecting. There's a problem there. 1.14 billion is what we are talking about if you're looking at quarter 4 of 2023. 1.14 billion. You go to the next slide, and you would see, again, difference between CWM reports and ECG revenue sheets. Quarter 4 of 2023, 600 million Ghana cedis. What is happening? Next slide. Then you look at under-declared revenue, quarter 4 of 2023. So ECG reported 3.38 billion. PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, validated report confirmed 3.87 billion. That leaves you with some 400 million. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we'll try to get the slides back. Yes, let's go to the next slide. That leaves you with revenue not captured, 490 million Ghana cedis. Next slide. Then you look at fuel supply payment discrepancies. ECG recording 136 plus million, and the CWM declaration 18.2 million. Look at the difference. 136 plus million, 18.2 million. What exactly is happening? There are discrepancies that ought to be addressed. But, next slide. You look at the ECD validation report and the bank accounts. Now, ECG operates 84 bank accounts across 20 different banks. Next slide. 84, keep that in mind. We also know that per the IMF and dealings that we've had, even the central bank, they have been told to operate a certain number, fixed number. Then you come to the comments by former ECG MD, my good friend Samuel Dubik Mahama. He says, under-declaration is not a criminal offense. That's what he's saying. Next slide. Now, if you look deeper, he says those 84 bank accounts do collect for ECG nationwide, but they settle in one bank account. If we even do a single bank account, that is a concentration risk. Nobody operates a business like that, and that's his justification. What do you think? Next slide. But then when you look at this, 5.1 billion being grants to ECG, that's according to SIGA. That's how much we are also giving ECG to lend a push to our power. Is it commensurable with what we are getting? That's the question. That's where the devil is. Next slide. Then you look at, and here's where I'm ending on the economy, right? You look at the monthly inflationary rates, 2008 to 2024. I'll not go through all of it, but if you look at the trend all the way to the high in 2023 or 2022 to 2023, and then where we are now in 2024, it's still a far cry from the 8% or so that Dr. Cassiel-Ato-Forson is targeting. And we're getting to the end. Let me go to the next slide. Now, if you look at the finance minister designate and what he's been signaling, saying, some industry watchers say it's not easy, but it can be done. If we introduce strong measures, particularly on the expenditure side, we will be able to reduce inflation to 8% plus or minus 2. 8% plus or minus 2, so 10% or 6%. And then let's go to the next slide. Taxes to be scrapped. He's saying all of this, but are they achievable? COVID-19 levy is giving you 13.91 billion Ghana cedis. E-levy, 8.27. You are taking this off, you're taking that off, you're taking off the betting tax of 5.1 billion. Cumulatively, you are looking at something around 26 plus billion, 27 billion. How will you do it? Again, for now, we'll be cautious. Time will tell. And then we'll do the final slide, though, because he is looking at road tolls as well. And this is where sometimes you say, hey, Ato. It was interesting for me listening to him before the appointments committee because, look, let's face it, Ato-Forson, fantastic gentleman. He knows his stuff, but you have to stick to what you say. In 2021, Dr. Cassiel-Ato-Forson said, I've always said that road tolls out there should be removed because the amount of money in terms of fuel that we burn in the traffic as against the revenue the government gets, I don't think it's worthwhile. And he had interactions with my very own colleague who celebrates his birthday today, Evans Mensah, right? But then in 2025, in front of the appointments committee, hey, Ato, you could tell in your market, if you use the road, you have to pay a toll, and it's all over the world. Ghana won't be the first country, it won't be the last one. We have to contribute towards the road maintenance. You cannot fault him much, but you can fault him on the point of candidness. There's a shift in position. They say only a fool never changes his mind. But we'll be watching. We'll be analyzing. And we shall follow every little bit, Dr. Cassiel-Ato-Forson. These are my blunt thoughts for you, shared raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. It's another season to be a blessing. So thank you for blessing me by watching. We'll be right back with more action. Stay.
Thank you for staying with us, and you're still watching the AM show. Now, earlier this morning, we told you that we're introducing something brand new to you, because from Monday to Friday, we get here, we are incisive, politics, economy, business, and everything really about the development of this country. We want to give you the opportunity to wind down a bit on Fridays. And guess who will be leading that charge? In the studio this morning, introducing to you E-Corner with Noella. Noella, welcome to the AM show.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
so
glittering. What do you have for us? But over to you.
Well, I have a lot in store, but of course, this is our first episode. And so top of the morning to you guys. Welcome to the all-new, refreshing, exciting E-Corner right here on your favorite AM show. I mean, shouts to Sweetie and Benji for all the hard work with all things political, but welcome to the soft side. And we've got everything coming up right here on your favorite. You're welcome back. This is E-Corner right here on your favorite AM show. I'm Noella Karen Yali, and today we'll take a quick journey through the roots and evolution of theatre arts, and then zoom in on Ghana's unique contributions to this timeless craft. Have we fully explored its potential? Is it a viable business? And how can we attract more investment into this industry? I have an exciting feature to set the stage, followed by an engaging conversation with an expert in the field who will help us unpack these questions and more. So stay with me. It's going to be an insightful ride, and we're digging in right away with a feature on our topic. Enjoy.
Oh, hallelujah! Yes, the Christian, the man in the phone,
Theatre arts, a cornerstone of human expression. From ancient rituals and dramatic Greek amphitheaters to the grand stages of Broadway and Africa's bustling cultural hubs, theatre has always been a mirror to society.
Went in so Bamabia and Iriam no Oyatrophone. Now, what chia wanyanam? Obafiana no who abrebiano or Yura Mojinamwa. No tinito as or the bo abrebiano.
In Ghana, our journey with theatre began as an oral tradition deeply rooted in storytelling, dance, and music. From the vibrant Akan and Ansesem stories to the rise of formal theatre in the colonial era, we've seen the art form evolve. Iconic figures like Efwa Sutherland and Geordie Graft paved the way, bringing Ghanaian stories to life on stage. But where are we now? As global theatre continues to thrive, has Ghana truly tapped into its potential? And what's next for this dynamic art form? Let's find out.
And to help us find out is Chief Moomin, who's a poet, playwright, creative entrepreneur, and 2024 Aishan Shawa. I know I'm murdering the name, but yeah, he's a global fellow of whatever that is. He's going to tell us more about that. But he's the creator of the Mansa World, which is one of the ambitious storytelling projects from Africa, producing major content across various genres for global audiences and seeking to greatly improve the continent's creative economy. You're welcome, Chief Moomin.
Thank you very much. I'm sure my American friends would be a bit worried that you murdered their president's name. So it's Eisenhower, actually.
Okay, Eisenhower. Right.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you.
Good morning, good morning. So I guess we're going to start the conversation by me asking you what the state of theater arts is looking like here in Ghana now.
Okay, let me start by saying a very, since we're in the creative space, and for those of us in the creative space, we've had the nomination of our minister, Honorable Abula Gumashi. Let me start by saying a very good morning to her and a very big congratulations to her. It was quite an unexpected nomination, and a lot of us championed, you know, that she should be selected, and she was selected. So we're very happy with that, that she's an industry person. She's been there before. And we saw, you know, her commitment to the industry, and we look forward to greater heights with her in charge going forward. Well, having said that, what's the state of theater in Ghana? I mean, like any developing space, is challenging, but it is developing. Let me put it in that way, because we've seen that there are a lot more producers in theater now, producing large-scale productions, commercial productions. We are growing our audience. We are still absolutely not there yet, but in terms of the production side, there is a lot of work and investment that is going into it by producers, by, you know, playwrights, you know, creatives who are interested in ensuring that theater becomes a mainstay of our, you know, cultural and entertainment industry. So we see a lot more productions, you know, in different venues, but it's still extremely challenging. We haven't yet unlocked the potential. Our audience base has not really transformed. I always estimate that we probably have at best about 10,000 theater-going audience, if you like, in a population of 30 million plus. So that is still quite very unimpressive.
Right. I mean, and
it's a developing space.
It's a developing space. Well, I've had conversations with you in the past and other, you know, creatives in the theater business, and they seem to be singing the same chorus you sing. What is the problem here? Is it a thing about funding, or is it a thing about lacking support from, you know, Ghanaians in general?
Well, I mean, I always see it as three major issues, right, or challenges: infrastructure, content, as well as marketing, which all boils down to, well, I guess, resources, right? The kind of theater we do in our part of the world, you know, you just run a play for like a weekend, you know. The investment that goes into pre-production is so much that the theater business model is that you're able to run it over time, you know, a couple of months, even years. Some productions have been running for 20 years, right? So that's how theater makes money. The more you are in the theater, the more people are paying to come and watch your productions, the more you make money. So here in this country, for example, there's hardly a venue that you can say, this is a venue I can do theater in for like 2-3 months, or like even 2 weeks, you know, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you know. So if it's the National Theatre, a lot of people are trying to get a National Theatre. So you can get one weekend, if you're lucky, you get another weekend, or you have to book. So you can block a continuous space and say that for this space, I'm going to do 3 months. You know, to be able to do that, you need resources to maybe construct your own theatre, or at least the infrastructure should be available. And quickly, the second one is content, right? You need to be able to develop content that is interesting, that is exciting, that can keep bringing people, you know, into the theater, right? And we've had at least proven that we can produce good content. And the last pillar is marketing now. No matter how good your content is, if you don't have the resources to market it, most people will not know about it, and most people will not be excited to come into the theater to see it, right? Here's the case: you don't even have enough resources to invest in the content, how much more marketing? So in an ideal case scenario, if you had the infrastructure, you had good content, and you had good marketing, then you know that you can expand your audience base, maybe from 10 to 50,000, or even to 100,000, which I think that if we're having about 50,000 people, 100,000 people coming to see theater, then it's a real business. So I guess it all boils down to issues of resources, because a lot of producers produce out of their own resources, right? It's not like you have some serious investments coming in or some grants that you can access. So a lot of us are really bootstrapping, grafting through the process, hoping that we can build a strong enough audience base, and that there will be a theater-going culture that would necessitate more investment from people who have the resources.
So, I mean, three things, but for the content and marketing, it is up to you, the creatives, not up to government. I guess the infrastructure is where you probably need the help of government. Is that right?
Even this, government always has an important role to play, but I actually see it as a role for the private sector, right? Because if you go to the developed, advanced creative economies, it's not government that owns the theaters, it's private individuals who own the theaters, because it's also a business for them. Because then if they own the theater and they have a production running in that theater, they can make a cut from the ticket sales role. So imagine if all of these people investing in so many real estate, some people have 100 houses, some of them are even lying there fallow and empty. if they could divert their resources into maybe, let's say, even a smaller theater, and not just even performing art theater, we even know, movie theaters, right? So you can have a multi-purpose theater with tiered seating that has a good enough space that can be used for movie premieres, that can be used for, theater productions. Imagine if a private developer invests, about even 5 theaters across the country in some of the key markets, even if it's a 500-seater expandable to 1,000-seater plus, right? It means you can make a plan that, okay, I'm going to run a production. I'll take it from Accra to Kumasi, maybe to Takoradi, to Tamale, the economic hotspots, and then you are in business. You are talking about serious business. But yeah, you do a production at the National Theatre. At best, you do for 2 days on a Saturday, or you do 4 days. If you are someone like Uncle Ebo White, who has been in the industry, built his audience base, maybe you can go 2 weekends, but that's really about it. I mean, the amount of effort you put into creating a theater production is just so much that you want to milk it as much as possible for as long as possible. And for that to happen, you need the infrastructure. And for the infrastructure to happen, maybe it's not government that we need. We need private sector individuals to see the performance pace as a viable opportunity for investment, or even for cultural philanthropy. So when you go to these big economics, one of the things you find is that the big people who make their billions, they invest in infrastructure, right? So you have the Carnegie Hall. It's like one of the most prestigious music halls, in New York. It was not built by the government. It was built by a billionaire, a steel magnate, Carnegie, who after making his money said, I want to influence culture, because culture is really about civilization. So they build libraries, they build museums, they build cultural centers. And that's the kind of mindset that we would need in our part of the world if we are going to really improve our cultural space.
I'm totally hating myself right now for wanting to cut short this very interesting, all-important conversation. But next week, we're going to zoom into the viability of theatre arts in Ghana. As an investor, if I'm watching, what kind of numbers are you, as a creative, as a playwright, what kind of numbers are you pulling? And how much of that can convince me enough to, like you proposed, invest into even putting up a theatre, or invest into your project? And I know you have a project coming up. Quickly tell us about it.
Yes, next week Friday on the 24th, next week Friday at the National Theatre at 7:30 p.m. is the official premiere of our first product from the Mansa world, which is Mansa Musa and the Trail of Lost Gold. So you know what we do. We have this epic production about ancient West African kingdoms of Ghana, Mali, Songhai. And so we're inviting all, if you have the time. It's a fascinating production. We've actually been focusing on a global tour. So this is just the first of that world premiere series, since we are producing here. We're staging in Ghana next week Friday, 7:30 p.m. at the National Theatre for Mansa Musa and the Trail of Lost Gold.
Definitely going to try to be there. Obviously, if you extend an invitation, if you extend an invitation to me, definitely I'll be there. But thank you so much. Always such a pleasure to speak to Chief Mumin. We've been speaking about theatre arts, the practice here in Ghana, and whether or not it's viable. In fact, unfortunately, we had to truncate the conversation. But next week, we're going to zoom into the viability of this all-important creative industry. I'm Noella Karanyali. You're still watching the AM show. Sweetie is up next with some beautiful interviews. You want to stick and stay right here on Joy News. Thank you for staying with us. Fantastic job from Noella there. But let's have a quick conversation on some books that might be of interest to you. The author is here in the studio with me, Niboy Jani. He's a professional, qualified life coach and an author, and he's written so many books. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Come.
Yeah, so we want to find out who you are, and there's so many books on the table that you have authored. So first of all, tell us a bit about who you are and what's the inspiration behind these books before we talk about the latest one that you want to promote.
Well, my name is Niboy Jani. I actually studied creative writing in drama school, School of Performing Arts. So that was where the skills were developed. But then I've done several things, and my retirement gig is as a life coach.
Oh,
and so
because I know one of your books is Retire Well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I studied life coaching, in England. And so I write basically to give value to my clients. Okay, so this was the first one. Retire Well was the first one. And it was because clients come, they have issues, and you want to be able to give them information that is researched and, so that you can back the claims that you are making. So basically, all my books are based on client needs and the fact that I want to add value to what I'm offering the client.
Okay. I'm interested in Retire Well, but I know that's not why you're here. Let's talk about the maxed ball, relationships, love, and intimacy in the age of swiping, which is the latest book from Mr. Ni Boyjani. So tell us about this, the maxed ball. Why is this important?
Well, it's important because, well, when I was growing up, it was boy meets girl, and if the boy managed to, get his case across, his courage had a boost. Now, we are hiding behind the mask of technology to date and conduct relationships.
The dating apps.
Yeah. The question is, how did we get here? And what are the challenges? And why? Okay, so this book is actually exploring the problems that I've encountered, from my clients and how they came about, their own contributions to it, and then also to offer solutions as to how we can, make the whole dating economy better for everybody, because now it's corrupted.
I agree with you. It's so difficult these days out there to date. But let's talk about how we can get in touch with you and where we can get any of these books to buy. Is there a number to call? Are there shops that have these books in bulk that we can go and buy?
Okay, it's on. They are on Amazon.
Okay.
Worldwide. You can call me on a telephone number if you don't mind. I used to have them in shops in Ghana, but honestly, the experience wasn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
It's okay. Let's put your number out there. Yeah.
It's 050-2717-903.
Again?
050-2717-903. It's both call and WhatsApp, so...
Okay. Mr. Ni Boyjani, thank you so much for coming. And I'm sure our audience will be interested to get in touch with you for a copy of these books. But this one, I think, is very interesting. Retire Well. If you're thinking about or planning your retirement, you should get a copy of this.
I actually organized seminars for retirement. So last year I did a few for at corporate entities. Right. So yeah, if Joy wants it, I'll do it for you for free.
Okay, we're looking forward.
Just organize yourself and I'll come and do it for you.
All right, thank you so much, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
There's still one more conversation before we go. Stay with us. I'll be back in a bit.
On our very first edition of 40 Weeks and More, our guest, Prof Kobby Mensah, shares her story of how she had 7 miscarriages and 2 stillbirths ahead of her 3 miraculous sunshines.
The first one was a stillbirth. The second one was also a stillbirth, and then the miscarriages started happening.
What could have been the cause? How did she keep picking herself up after each failure? Was it spiritual? Can you begin to imagine all the places she had to go in search of answers?
There were 5 pastors on each side. He was standing at the end. Then they said, strip, then you strip. Now, by the time we left there and we got home, I was bleeding black.
But it all ended up in praise. Join us on Joy Prime this Saturday at 5 p.m. for our debut edition of 40 Weeks and More with Edem Naite. You can also catch it on YouTube on the Family Forum Africa channel. 40 Weeks and More is brought to you by NS Chemist Limited, Shape Healthcare Specialist Medical Center, Labadi Beach Hotel, and supported by Our Luri, Dobeta Merchandise, Lunch Avenue, and Deco Zone. For sponsorship, please contact 059-288-9986 or 0262-874-707. 40 Weeks and More, Nurturing Lives.
know that short promo is enticing enough for you to want to make a date, but let me tease you a bit more. In the studio with me this morning is Edem Naite, Programs Manager for Joy FM and the host of 40 Weeks and More. Edem, it's really good to chat with you this morning on the AM Show.
Really good to be here. This morning, someone was asking me why. What about Home Affairs? I said, I still
yeah.
Home Affairs. We have Home Affairs tomorrow
You still have
morning.
You see, you're a woman who does it all. So tell us, 40 Weeks and More, what was the brain behind birthing this beautiful initiative and program?
Will women ever stop giving birth? Will we ever stop having children, nurturing them? If the answer is no, then that's what gave birth to this. This is not to say that people haven't had these sort of conversations, but what's different about this one is the fact that it's not a host and a doctor sitting down to have imaginary conversations. For every topic we're going to discuss, you're going to have people share their real life stories on that journey. So for instance, tomorrow, we're debuting tomorrow actually on Joy Prime. And our first edition, we're going to have this lady, Whitney, who will share with us how she had 2 miscarriages. And then, 2 stillbirths, and then 7 miscarriages. Ahead of, now she has 3 sons, so not triplets though.
Quite the miracle story there.
I tell you, I kid you not. So this is what is different about 40 Weeks and More, so that it makes it very relatable. And whilst it's ongoing, you can put down your questions, and then there are contacts, you can send it, and we will help you with the answers. We can put you up with the health aspects as well, because then, and it's also to arm people with a lot of information and strengthen people. Not to create any scare around that, oh, when I am pregnant, this could happen, that could happen. No, it happens to people. And if it does, and you're well informed, then you know what to do. So you have such stories that we're going to be sharing week in, week out. And then we have the health aspects. Dr. Promise Sapoga will be on every week. And then we have other health aspects depending on what we are talking about. For instance, we're going to have oncologists at some point because we spoke to a woman who realized during her pregnancy that she had breast cancer. So how do you sail through, that? You have HIV, and then, how you go on to get pregnant. And
that makes me curious to find out, what was the highlights for you? I mean, you've spoken to so many people, they've shared their life experiences with you, you've spoken to the specialists.
Did I have a highlight? I think I fell ill along the line. Yeah, that's one thing I will always remember when we were working on this project, because the stories were so much. I think I took in too much. There were moments we cried on the show. There were moments we laughed, we giggled. So you went through all the emotions, and along the line, I broke down because, and for me, that will be the highlights, because I have children. I have 4 children. I have a set of twins in there, but some of the things I heard, I am like, how do women go through all of these?
How do they even survive?
And still survive it. So you don't see a pregnant woman out there and go like, hey, which baby do, or, you're acting up and all. Sometimes we don't even understand what's happening in our own bodies. So when you find a pregnant woman, wherever you are, please be very kind and be very nice to them. They need it. So that is what 40 Weeks and More is all about. And more because it doesn't end at delivery. We tell the stories, some of the stories, like for instance, we told one quick story about this lady who found out after a year or so that his child had cancer in his eye, her child actually. And by the time of working on this project, they had plucked out his eye, so you have some of these stories. And we just highlight them also to celebrate the women for the things they have gone through.
And for clarity, I know that the conversations that go on 40 Weeks and More is not just for women. So I want you to reiterate the target audience so that the men don't leave it for just the women.
The target audience is the family, couples, the family, anybody. If you find yourself around, because it's the women who carry the pregnancy, so they share their stories of how they're feeling, but then it's everybody's responsibility to support them. That's how come I said that. If you have a pregnant woman in your space, try and be very kind to them. It's not funny.
Okay. And then I'll give you 1 minute or less to speak directly to our audience, inviting them to make a date so that they don't miss this educative, insightful, riveting program.
So this is going to be every week, 5 p.m. on Joy Prime. You don't want to miss it for anything. The stories, it will take you on an emotional journey. And the best part is that you get to learn. You can also catch it on the Family Forum Africa channel on YouTube. And a very big thank you to, the people who supported us to, put this project together. So NS Chemist, Shape Healthcare Medical Center, Dobeta Merchandise, Dabadi Beach Hotel. We're talking about Aruluri, Decozone. They all have been very supportive, and I say thank you. So tomorrow, 5 p.m., we're on Joy Prime.
Edem Naite, thank you, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's 40 weeks and more. Make a date. It's debuting tomorrow, the 18th of January at 5 p.m. on Joy Prime. Don't miss it. But folks, this is the end of the Friday edition. In fact, that's our show for the entire week. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Sweetie Abochi, and I always do this with Benjamin Akapu. But stay for Joy News Desk coming up next. Happy Friday!